Good morning. It is 6:30. It is Thursday, February 27th, 2020. It is 45 degrees. It's overcast. It's going to be windy. This rain is going to go away soon. The temperature averaging out at about 45. But we'll get back to the weather in just a moment. First, we need to cover the headlines for you on this very busy Thursday. First of all, we're going to go with this coronavirus because everybody cares about it. We have the first case that may be from an unknown origin. Out in California, there's no reason why this person should have had it. Didn't go to China, hadn't been traveling. Maybe they ran into someone that did. 20 countries now confirm the coronavirus is outbroken there, including China. Many schools have been closed in Japan. Indeed, an historic move, Saudi Arabia suspended travel for pilgrimages to Islam's holiest sites. The president has named Vice President Mike Pence to lead the response. Also, though, there's a little bit of a squabble there. Health and Human Services Secretary Alexander Azar stressed that he was still in charge. And the court sided with Trump in the sanctuary cities fight. That's the top story today, or those are the top stories on a national level. Locally, a federal trial began in Spring Valley, the NAACP against the school district. Actually, that trial is almost near its end. And out of Sarah Lawrence, the prosecutors there tell judges they have another week to go through for materials in the sexual abuse case there. And Yonkers moves against aggressive panhandling. Those stories and a lot more coming up right here on Radio Westchester. First, we need to take a look at the weather. That's a good one, Radio Westchester. Anyway, this is Mornings with Bob Marrone. I am Bob Marrone. This is Radio Westchester, your radio station at the train station. It is Thursday, February 27th. Here's what the weather looks like, and the weather's brought to you, of course, exclusively by United Hebrew of New Rochelle, voted one of America's best rehabilitation and senior care campuses, and it's right here in New Rochelle. Visit UHGC.com. It is windy. The rain out there now is going away. It's 45 degrees. It'll be mostly cloudy throughout the rest of the day tonight. Fair skies, a little bit of wind, the temperature down to 23. Real winter weather tonight. Tomorrow, windy with a mix of sun and clouds, temperatures around 38. And then Saturday, partly sunny, but breezy, a high around 35. Welcome to the program once again. Just so much news, many things going on locally, nationally, etc. Let's get busy with those stories. This out of Los Angeles this morning, and it affects all of us because it's a new case of the coronavirus, and it could be the first in the U.S. that has no known connection to travel abroad or any other known case. A possible sign the virus is spread in a U.S. community. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported the case yesterday. California officials said the person is a resident of Solano County, northeast of San Francisco, and is getting medical care in Sacramento. Meanwhile, the novel coronavirus has killed at least 2,800 people worldwide, mostly in China. There have been more now than 82,000 global cases with infections in every continent except Antarctica. And for the first time, the number of new cases reported outside of China in one day was larger than those reported inside China. Now, South Korea has seen a spike, more than 1,700 cases there, and they have stalled South Korea, joint U.S. South Korean military drills. They have been postponed. And in Saudi Arabia, this is no small thing if you understand this dynamic. They have suspended pilgrimages to Mecca and Medina for people outside the country over coronavirus fears. The kingdom, which bills itself as the custodian of Islam's two holiest sites, will open religious rituals to residents and nationals only. And here in the United States, Health and Human Services Secretary Alexander Azar stressed that he was still in charge of the task force addressing the novel coronavirus following President Donald Trump's announcement that Vice President Michael Pence would lead those efforts to battle the outbreak. just minutes before Trump had said Pence would lead the U.S. government's response to the coronavirus. Azar's post-news conference statements muddled the message on who is in charge. But again, it's pretty typical for a president to name their vice president to head something up. Most likely he will work through the aforementioned cabinet member. And in a significant story coming out of Washington yesterday, this out of the Associated Press, the Trump administration can withhold millions of dollars in law enforcement grants to 4 states to cooperate with U.S. immigration enforcement. A federal appeals court in New York ruled Wednesday in that decision that conflicted with 3 other federal appeals courts. The ruling by the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Manhattan overturned the lower court's decision, and that will obviously have an effect here in New York. Again, the concept of withholding money if you are a sanctuary city. The courts, just to sum it up, have sided with the president's position on that. We go now locally. The federal trial between the Spring Valley's NAACP and the East Ramapo School District is wrapping up. This in News 12 today. The NAACP has claimed that for years the school district's at-large process of electing school board members favors the majority white community and favors a district voting system. The majority white school board has cut school budgets and slashed programs for public schools where most minority students attend, despite overwhelmingly sending their kids to private schools. So the case has hit a snag, a little bit of a snag. The judge ordered a prominent Rockland County rabbi to testify, but he refused. And that is a case where that's a lawsuit from a legal perspective. It's been well established that the money had been redirected from the public schools to the private schools. We will keep you updated on that story. It is 6:38. Federal prosecutors told a judge Wednesday they'll need another 10 weeks to sort through the voluminous information involving the accused sex trafficker there. And we're trying to figure out why we have as much, a little bit of hissing there. Our apologies. We'll look into it. Accused sex trafficker and extortionist Lawrence Ray before the evidence can be turned over to the defense. And the reason it's taking so much time, the material included 44 computer hard drives, 37 cell phones, 5 laptops, 2 desktops, and I can go on, and let's just say a porridge and a pear tree. Ray, 60, was arrested at his home in Piscataway, New Jersey, back on February 11th, charged with sex trafficking and forced labor at least at a dorm. An off-campus dorm is where he's alleged to have run this operation at Sarah Lawrence College. Yonkers, the city council there has passed a ban on aggressive panhandling in hopes of curbing downtown street begging that is plaguing that city. The members adopted the general ordinance that would ban aggressive begging in public places 7-0. And they've sent the bill along to Mayor Mike Spano. The legislation, modeled after a similar New York City ban, would also specifically prohibit solicitation within 10 feet of banks and cash checking or check cashing businesses. I can get it right once in a while. Police Commissioner John Mueller told the Legislative and Codes Committee last week that the legislation is in response to an uptick in panhandling. 10 of the 12 Democrats battling for the open seat in the 17th Congressional District here, Westchester / Putnam, debated on one stage. I'm sorry, I said Putnam, and it's actually Westchester and Rockland. They demonstrated on one stage in Nyack, and for the first time last night. The seat will be made vacant as Representative Nita Lowey announced last fall that she planned on retiring. Attendees observed that many of the candidates were respectful of their time, their answers, and each other. In fact, News 12, who gave us the story, asked the candidates which of their opponents they felt was the least qualified, and many answered that they felt that all of their opponents would be fit for the position. This is unusual in this day and age, but we'll take it. This out of Milwaukee, and This isn't an international story. It's a horrible national story. But an employee opened fire Wednesday at Milwaukee's Molson Coors complex, killing 5 fellow workers before taking his own life. The governor was identified as a 51-year-old Milwaukee man who died of self-inflicted gunshot wounds. And as we have more about that story, so too will you. A real sign of the time, folks, is that this story isn't top news. It is, and you won't like me saying this, but I'm going to. These mass shootings are a sign and a product of Americana. Why is a story for another day, perhaps many other days. And a story that we had for you 2 days ago, and we were looking into it further, don't know much more about it. Police say Yonkers man is dead after his coworker stabbed him in the neck. This actually happened on Monday night. Police say it started in an argument between 2 employees. They say a 53-year-old man stabbed Brandon Almonte, 22, multiple times in the neck inside the Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram dealership in Riverdale. They say it happened around 4:30 p.m. and that the employee accused of the stabbing was taken into custody. Meanwhile, Almonte was taken to the New York Presbyterian Hospital, where he died from his wounds. They've not yet released the name of the suspect in this case. And a little bit more about the quarantine of the coronavirus. So this just in. Voluntary quarantine protocols have been applied to about 700 people now who returned to New York. This is a local story. After traveling to areas in China, the vast majority were deemed at minimum risk. However, we still do have 8 people here in Westchester County who are under, well, if you will, lockdown, which is to say that they can't leave their house. They're being closely watched for signs that they may indeed have the virus. And now we just got an update as well on the Coors story. And this is all we know right now. The people killed are Molson Coors employees. These are the 5 people killed out in Milwaukee. And they were all found in the same building. And that's all they can, well, it's all they have right now. This is one of those classic cases of an employee getting upset with the people that she works with. It is 6:43. Now, I thought I should do this story in all fairness, since I can be accused of beating up on Fox News. But as far as their results go, this last night in the New York Post, Fox News broke records in February, averaging 3.53 million total viewers in prime time, the highest ratings in its 23-year history. It was also its 44th consecutive month that it was the most watched channel on basic cable. The channel steamrolled its news competitors, with MSNBC averaging 1.78 million and CNA hitting 1.05 million. Year over year, Fox News was up 35% in total viewers, with a 27% increase in the 25 to 54 demographic. Pardon me, it is 6:45. We'll be back with some weather in about another minute or so, or we'll come to another weather report at that time. Facebook is cracking down on ads that guarantee coronavirus cures. That's right. Wouldn't you know it now? Facebook has all kinds of memes and different bots that are telling you you can get a cure for the coronavirus. And nice work, people who are doing that. But you know what? If you do what we do here behind this microphone long enough, people offer cures for everything. If things less serious, people actually buy them for wrinkles, for losing weight. They use all kinds of metals that'll get rid of your arthritis and make you 6'9" if you're 5'2", and make you, well, let's just say we'll give you gifts for parts of your body. Hospitals are preparing for the coronavirus around the United States with masks. There's a run on masks, protective equipment, etc. And that business is legitimate. But again, here, people are making money out of that particular problem. And there's another story we'll cover later when we come back from break. It looks like this coronavirus truly will be a pandemic, which is to say it will go around the world. How malevolent, how fatal it will be is yet to be determined. Now, here's one that'll make you scratch your head. 65 years after 14-year-old Emmett Till was lynched in Mississippi. I can't believe this had to happen now. Congress has approved legislation designated lynching as a hate crime. And something that many regular drivers know, this is regarding a study, drivers with nice cars pose a bigger risk to pedestrians than people who drive clunkers. You know, that's the kind of arrogance. Sometimes it shows itself. It's like, please, no offense if you have a sweet pit bull, but generally speaking, people that walk pit bulls have, well, all too often, the same personality as the dog if untamed. Now, that's a generalization, but most people, if polled, would probably agree with that. All righty. It is 6:46, and we're going to take a look at the weather as promised. If you're just joining us, good morning. It is Thursday, February 27th, 2020. It's 45 degrees and overcast. We had some rain this morning, but it did stop. And today, it'll be overcast, mostly cloudy. The temperature's leveling out at about where it is right now, 45. Now tonight, fair skies and windy, but it will be chilly, getting down to 23. Wind chills will make it feel like it's in the teens. And tomorrow, windy with a mix of sun and clouds, and the temperature 38. Saturday, partly sunny and breezy. The high will be 35 degrees. And the weather, as always, is brought to you by exclusively by United Hebrew of New Rochelle, voted one of America's best rehabilitation and senior care campuses, and it's right here in New Rochelle. Visit uhgc.com. And the bottom of the hour has been brought to you by Aging Issues Management, their collaborators, Aging Issues Radio. We had them on last night for quite a while. The law firm of Payne & Con, Dominic's Fine Cigars, and Plug-in Virtual Reality.com. We have other news to talk about, certainly sports, which we're going to get to in a moment. But this was a story that we wanted to share with you. Again, we want to go back to the coronavirus. Now, it's not our goal, certainly not mine, to make you frightened. It's more our goal to cover this as in-depth as we can. Because it's very easy to get paranoid and frightened. And I remember when I was much younger, and Legionnaire's disease had me afraid. The bird flu virus had me afraid. And then I realized the more I knew about it, the less afraid I was. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it's dangerous. But again, no one in this country has died from it. No one has been, people have been ill, but not gravely ill. And in those countries, even where it has reared its head, so far it's had a 2% fatality rate, but we're keeping an eye on it. Now, here's the overall look. Outbreak is inevitable. It's only a matter of time, and this is what we're hearing from the Centers for Disease Control. It's only a matter of time before the deadly new coronavirus spreads throughout the United States, and Americans should brace for the outbreak to upend their daily lives in certain ways, where you go, how you travel. Now, here's a quote. It's not so much of a question of if this will happen, but a question of when and how many people will have severe illness. Dr. Nancy Messonnier of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said, "We are asking American public to prepare for the expectation that it could be bad." So far, only 57 cases, as we said. Now, what she went on to say is as more and more countries experience the community spread, successful containment at our borders becomes harder and harder. She urged families, schools, and businesses to ready themselves. Now, how do you do that? There are certain things that would be canceled. Mass gatherings would be canceled. Some schools in certain circumstances would be closed, and companies would have to let their employees work from home. The disruption of daily life might be severe at times. We want to make sure the American public is prepared. Healthcare professionals are gearing up for the crisis to grow. Researchers are scrambling to create a cure, and officials announced Tuesday that the first clinical trial in the U.S. for a possible treatment is underway at the University of Nebraska Medical Center. Now, that all sounds scary, but those are worst-case scenarios. Number one, we've been down this road before, and likely will be down the road again one day. So just hang in there. We will keep you informed. Now, this came out yesterday. and it really did trouble me. We haven't talked a lot about it because there's just so much news coming out of Washington, so much news coming out of this administration, so much news coming out of the debates, so much news, of course, surrounding the coronavirus, and then all we have regionally and locally. But this went under the radar a little bit, but not here. This came out of the Associated Press. A month before the Supreme Court takes up cases over his tax returns and financial records, President Donald Trump on Tuesday made the unusual suggestion that two liberal judges should not take part in those or any other cases involving him or his administration. The remark, critical of Justices Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Sonia Sotomayor, New Yorkers like Trump, came during a news conference in India where Trump was wrapping up his visit. Now, as you know, justices decide for themselves when to step aside from cases the court is considering, and it is highly unlikely either justice would sit out cases involving Trump. Now, they all have their own opinions. Every once in a while, their opinions come out, whether they be liberal or conservative judges. But it's unusual for a president making those demands, or requests, certainly not for this president. Meanwhile, also on that same day, U.S. District Judge Amy Berman Jackson rebuked President Donald Trump and other media commentators for attacking the forewoman of the jury that convicted longtime Trump friend and confidant Roger Stone of lying to Congress. She ordered a partially public hearing to weigh Stone's request for a new trial because of concerns about the jury, citing the extreme risk of harassment and intimidation, which has clearly gone on in this administration, and that's my addition. Jurors might face. Jackson decided that observers should be able to only listen to the audio feed. At any rate, a day before Stone requested the new trial, Trump suggested on Twitter that the forewoman in the Stone case had significant bias. He doubled down on those, saying, quote, "There has rarely been a juror so tainted as the forewoman in the Roger Stone case. Look at her background. She never revealed her hatred of Trump and Stone. She was totally biased, as is the judge," he said. The judge is totally biased. And we're often asked behind these microphones what our concerns are about this administration. Again, judges, Congress, anyone that disagrees, fellow Republicans, whether they be attorneys general or whomever. But give him his due. That's what winners do. And good, I guess, for him if you're a fan, but maybe not so much for the country. The number of city kids attending yeshivas has skyrocketed, this out of New York City, over the last 2 decades, while Catholic school enrollment has plunged, according to a new report. During the 2000 to 2001 school year, there were 76,000 plus kids enrolled in Jewish schools, this according to a Manhattan Institute study. By 2018-2019, academic year, the number soared to 111,000. Meanwhile, Catholic school enrollment has plummeted by roughly the same proportions over that stretch. There were 148,658 students in those schools in 2000, now just 77,000 people. And let's see, so much. We haven't touched sports yet, but there is a lot going on in sports, which we will get to now. And there was a story in the back of the Post this morning. In fact, we'll hold it up for you. Now Garrett Cole seems to be in the spotlight because he used to pitch for Houston. Now the whispers are growing around baseball and were voiced recently by Trevor Bauer that the Astros pitchers developed a special substance to improve their grips and spin rates. Yankees ace Garrett Cole, an Astro the 2 previous seasons, adamantly denied the accusation. Now, even if that's true, does that mean, if there's no rule against it, that it's illegal? See, I don't know. But that still is something else now that everybody's so concerned about cheating in baseball. Of course, the Yankees don't seem to be keeping anybody healthy. Giancarlo Stanton injured his calf during Tuesday's practice, and the Yankee slugger may not be ready for opening day. Now, a little bit more about this story. Major League Baseball is trying to avoid a sticky mess in the future. This out of the New York Post today. Chris Young, recently elevated by Major League Baseball to a senior vice presidential role to oversee on-field operations, has been touring camps in Florida to deliver the message that Rule 6.02 is going to be enforced. Now, they're going to crack down on pitchers. Wow. And pitchers accepted cheating. And that's where this issue arises. Now, in the second story, the paranoia about the Astros seeps well beyond the illegal sign stealing effort. Once opponents think you are wearing buzzers under their uniforms, it is pretty much open season. And now they're being accused of putting a sticky substance on the baseball for their pitchers. Now, for those of you who are not statistical wonks, and I include myself in that group, what can I say? There is this the spin rate. They now can measure through computers and everything else. Again, these are the ways also, these are the means through which people are cheating. All this video, your arm angle when you pitch, how much the ball spins, that tells how much it will break, etc., etc., etc. Now, guess who got his butt kicked in his first spring outing? He's a Met. He's a relief pitcher with great stuff. No one knows what the problem is. But Diaz got hit hard in his Grapefruit League debut. No surprise there until he gets it right. But the funny thing about this pitcher, all the analytics show he's still great. He throws hard. His ball moves terrifically. Generally speaking, his control is pretty good. But he does make mistakes with his pitches. Unless maybe all the cheating, he's one of those guys that they've totally figured out. And since we did this the other day with Garrett Cole throwing 98, the Mets had to be sure to get a story in the paper today, and they did. Noah Syndergaard is already hitting 99. In fact, his hitting 99, Cole hitting 98. People are finally starting to look. I mean, they've been talking about it for a couple of years, but people are finally starting to look at why pitchers get injured to the degree that they do. And I think certainly the way they train and how hard they throw, it seems like the human body, at least the elbow, just wasn't made for the very specific training to throw a ball that hard. Otherwise, our bodies are falling apart, and that's hard to believe. Clearly, they will have to start looking into that because it is costing baseball a lot of money, and a lot of people are getting hurt. Meanwhile, just about every New York team lost last night. Basketball team, the Hornets defeated the Knicks 107 to 101. The Nets got beat by the Wizards 110 to 106. There's so much more here. All kinds of stuff. Both college teams, St. John's lost and Seton Hall lost last night. So it's not exactly... it was not exactly a good night for the home team. Now, Tim Tebow is taking his baseball talents internationally. The World Baseball Classic announced Wednesday that Tim Tebow would play for Team Philippines in the tournament's qualifying round. Tebow's parents were Baptist missionaries who moved from the Philippines to Florida when Tim was 3 years old. It's set to take place on March 12 to 25. The WBC qualifying round consists of two groups of 6 teams each. Tebow will participate in the second. So let me see if I got this right. If I lived somewhere in another country, even though I was an American and born here and all that good stuff, I could play for their national team. Well, then what I should do is go find a country the next time there's the Olympics that has an absolutely horrible team. One of the ones I visited, let's see, Japan. I've been in Japan. I've been in several places in Europe. The Swiss are too good. I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to try and do this in Japan or China. All righty. Speaking of that, and for those of you who are looking for coaches that got fired or players that are doing something odd during being out of the business, Peter Laviolette, the former coach of the Philadelphia Flyers, that's hockey, and more recently the Nashville Predators, is returning to the bench after being selected as the coach of the United States team competing at the World Hockey Championships in May. Also, many of you saw this on TV. St. Louis Blues defenseman Jay Baumeister, who collapsed on the bench after suffering a cardiac episode in the first period during a February 11th game, has been ruled out for the regular season and the playoffs. Now, he's 36 or 37 years old, has had a really nice career. Smart Money says it's probably over for him. Now, it's definitely over for Maria Sharapova, the 32-year-old Russian tennis star. She walked away from tennis rather quietly Wednesday at the age of 32, ending a career that featured a career Grand Slam, 5 major championships, and then tied at number one in the WTA rankings, a 15-month doping ban, and plenty of problems with her right shoulder. There was no goodbye tournament, no last moment in the spotlight for someone used to garnering so much attention. And here's what she had to say. At the end of the day, what I love doing is competing, and that's where my heart is at the center court. So, again, Maria Sharapova at the age of 32, retiring from tennis. All righty, it is 7:02. We take another break, and when we come back, we'll take a look at some of the regional stories. We'll open up the telephones to see where you're at. We'll talk with Vince, who's coming up soon. And let's take a look at today's outline. Vince Russo comes up before 7:20. John Bailey comes in from White Plains, where he is our man in White Plains. Jake in Sports at 8 o'clock. 8:20, Ivar Hayden, 8:35. Mike Spano, that ought to be fun. At 9 o'clock, our friends from Choice. Right now, it is 7:02. Good morning once again. The sun, not the sun is coming up. Let's just say it's getting a little lighter. The rain has stopped. It's 45 degrees. It is overcast, and the rain's not going to come back today. But we will have an overcast day, and the temperatures will average around 35. Tonight, fair skies and windy, 23 degrees. Wind chills will make it feel like 15, maybe something like that. You won't like it, but get over it. We don't have too many cold days anymore. Friday, windy with a mix of sun and clouds, the temperature 38. And on Saturday, partly sunny and breezy. The high will be 35 degrees. And the weather's brought to you exclusively by our friends at United Hebrew of New Rochelle, voted one of America's best rehabilitation and senior care campuses. And it's right here in New Rochelle. We've been covering a lot this morning, talking about the coronavirus. We have 8 people so far suspected here in Westchester, but no one has actually gotten the disease yet. They are quarantined in their homes, so it's not too bad. But the real story today, in terms of something different, is that there's an individual out in California who contracted the disease, and it is confirmed with no apparent, that is apparent, underscore that word, reason, which is to say that they hadn't traveled recently, hadn't been on an airplane, hadn't been traveling to China particularly, or anywhere else in Asia. And that person, people are saying, well, this is community related, which is to say that she got it from having come in contact with someone else who either had it or in some way that I don't understand medicine, of course, that person may be carrying it. There are already now 20 countries confirming the new coronavirus. The president is taking action, appointed Mike Pence, who will be working with his cabinet member to deal with the disease here in the United States. And even Saudi Arabia, they've suspended travel for pilgrimages to Islam's holiest sites, Mecca and Medina. They are only letting the people who already live in the region visit those sites, and nationals, etc. So a lot going on in the courts. We've talked about this a little bit. This is very important for New Yorkers because many people here who support sanctuary cities were upset that the president was withholding certain funds while locales and municipalities created these sanctuary city situations. Well, the court has sided with President Trump. They can withhold grants. The federal government can if the localities do not cooperate with the federal government's immigration laws. And on the other side of the fence, the president was saying that the two judges, and they are liberal judges, I think it's fair to say that, sort of Orr and Ruth Bader Ginsburg ought not to be ruling in when the case of his tax returns goes to the Supreme Court. Now, it's funny, with all these things going on, the New York Post, you got to love them, though. They love to cover this stuff. Johnny Depp is in the paper again for whatever. I don't know what went on between he and Amber Heard. But, geez, Johnny, great actor, but some of these people just go off the rails, and it seems he did. He said, now again, if we all got quoted when we were angry at someone, I think half of us would be in jail if it were legal. But he said to a third party, let's drown her before we burn her. But that made the front page of the Post. The Post is always a lot of fun. Oh, one more thing. And this is for those of you who like to get angry at the president or those who like to support you. So there's a little bit in this story for everyone. He's suing the Times over a Russia op-ed, which accused him and his campaign of collaborating with the Russians, or at least that's very much that's an encapsulated statement by me. I'm not going to read the whole things. The title column is The Real Trump-Russia Quid Pro Quo. But again, it was an op-ed piece, so the president probably won't win that. But you got to like the fact that, man, you do something to him, and he's coming back. You don't care if you're the press, the Pope, whoever. And I shouldn't say the Pope, I'm sure. He would defer a little bit there. But he hits back, and as he likes to say, 10 times harder. All right, let's see who's on the telephone as we pass through 707. Good morning. You're on Radio Westchester. You're live.
Vince Russo here.
It is you coming in at 710. So many things going on. What is the reaction? Now, you're a public official in New Jersey, Vince. How are you all dealing with this coronavirus outbreak? And you know, usually we try to downplay these things because in the press, we overdo it. But this time, I think we haven't probably been out there enough. What's going on in New Jersey?
Well, we like Corona out here, so we wish they would call it the Heineken virus.
What's wrong with you? The Heineken virus. Good.
You know, locally, really nothing is going on about it. We haven't, restricted public meetings or anything like that at this juncture. And I don't think the state has done anything either. Governor Murphy really, to my knowledge at least, hasn't come out with anything. I'm not really sure what there is to do. I mean, we could all walk around with those masks, I suspect.
They don't really help. That's not something that people need to be doing just yet, unless you meet someone. But what was a little spooky, and we did the story earlier, there are stages of the disease where schools could wind up being closed, businesses closed, being asked to work at home, because the whole herd thing, once it gets into the population, large crowds, or at least condensed crowds, are frowned upon. And that makes you wonder, will it affect baseball? Will it affect sports? And this is from the Centers for Disease Control. She said the disruption of daily life could be severe. And she said she contacted a children's school district, asked about plans for online learning. Mm-hmm. It's possible that, again, businesses would be asked to have people work from home. But again, we're not there yet. I mean, nobody has died in the United States. And
right.
Very few people actually have the disease confirmed. So,
well, one of the things that I saw was that of all of the cases worldwide so far, they say 85% of the people who have contracted it, it is just like getting the flu. It's it's debilitating, but you don't die.
Right.
And only a very, then I 2%. Think they said...
The number's 2%, by the way.
Yeah, it's like 2% die from it, and the other, between the 85 and the 2%, that little gap, people get severe symptoms, but they, again, recover. So it is not as fatal as people believe. It's not like the Black Plague.
Although I need to say this, and only because I'm a no-good human being. Now, you are over 70. And the older you are, it's more dangerous. So I have a question that is in no way selfish. Am I in the will?
Actually, I think you are.
I know what I know
I
what's
think
coming.
you're the. I think you're the aviatrix, whatever they
I
call
was
it.
getting a bird. No, yeah, and I knew this. Am I to say that this is the fortune? By the way, folks, Vince, and a lot of our regular listeners are Honeymooner fans. Certainly, Anthony, who's a regular on this program, Tom, Mitch, and maybe it's all of us of a certain age. Just about every line in it. So, and it certainly weaves its way through this program. But they had the other day. I just want to share this with you. They had. Whenever I have a long drive now, I found a way of finding things like on YouTube. Go to Bluetooth, put them on the car. And they had a compilation of all of the so-called fact jokes versus poor Ralph Cramden.
Right.
It was 35 minutes of just all I almost crashed the car.
It's curious with the coronavirus that the president puts Mike Pence in charge of this whole situation, who is like the most anti-science person you can possibly think of.
Yeah, I think he thinks that people rode dinosaurs on horseback.
Yeah, I mean it's laughable.
Yeah, but
well,
you know
I think
what,
it's
though?
because they're waiting for the press to admit that it's just a big hoax, that they're drumming this up because of the election that's coming up.
Well, that they can't do. But you know what's so unfair on all levels? When the economy is good, they credit the president. When it's bad, they blame the president, unless he's the president from the other party. Like I get very few calls of people who didn't like Barack Obama that admit he did anything right. And it killed them. Some of them still haven't gotten over their depression that he was in charge when they killed Osama bin Laden. Like, killed him. Oh, did he have to do it, for God's sakes? That man that sired by two chinchillas from Mexico? But same thing. And so it's sort of unfair, apropos of that, if depending on how bad this virus is, to either blame or credit the president. It's the professionals under him that have to do it. And I know that President Trump is worried about that, because that is the way our politics have become. He'll get blamed if two people get it instead of one. We give them too much credit and too much blame, I suspect.
Have you mentioned the previous debate that took place the other day?
Which debate? Yeah, people call in and talk about. I put no stock in it. I'm waiting for Super Tuesday. I can't get over how much, though, the Joe Biden, who was a wonderful public servant for so many years, just seems to have lost his belly for it. Yeah,
it's true. Certainly Michael Bloomberg did a heck of a lot better, although the bar was pretty low from the first debate. He did a heck of a lot better. And I think Elizabeth Warren must have run out of her prescription for amphetamines, because while she was obnoxious, I mean, she wasn't like completely over the top like the last time. And the rest of them were pretty much the same as they were. Again, Buttigieg, I thought, was steady, and
Well, but you know what I think happened? Just going back to the senator, I think that her handlers, when she gets off the stage, one of them has a syringe and the other one tackles her and shoots her up. Please calm down. And there was a piece in the Times about that. And I don't think it applies to her, but there was a lot of truth to it. That we want women candidates to be likable, but don't get angry. But she gets hysterical. I'm sorry, she gets berserk.
Oh, I mean, she's crazy.
But that's a little extreme. Just nuts.
No, I don't think it is extreme. She's
you know what stuff? Look, everybody who listens, including loyal listeners who agree with me or disagree with me, depending on the issue. One thing I have to say, that I have gotten a huge kick out of emails, texts, pictures, and people who throw Bernie under the bus every day. It's really hysterical stuff. And I don't know what happened to him. I mean, it's one thing to be a socialist light, in small print, and to care about the safety net. It's another to go as far as he's gone, which is almost political suicide. I'm flabbergasted at that.
Well, what he's doing, he's appealing to a base of population that has been pretty excluded from politics. African American people and Latinos and stuff like that. And I think that's a good thing. I mean, I think that, they should be included. But what he's doing is just trying to buy people off. He's saying, well, you're going to get all this free stuff, and the millennials
they love. Go ahead.
Who don't want to lift a finger to do anything. We're going to forgive all your student debt. We're going to give you free college. We're going to do this and that.
Isn't that the great slippery slope, though? Even, liberals, and I'm talking about the part of liberal policy that is well-intended and warm and kind to provide a proper safety net. But they also have gone to the point where, hey, we can buy votes with this stuff. Let's give them this and let's give them. I mean, and another thing, now you're involved in local politics, but you're in a really almost rural area. But one of the things I've observed in the 15 plus years I'm doing morning news is these grants that go out through like the Urban Renewal Agency, et cetera. I mean, this money gets misused. And here in New York, in this region, the number of people who get grants, we're opening up a home for the agent. Most of the money goes to the people that run it. Half of the people go to jail. And this is another way for liberals to buy votes. And it's very, very frustrating. And when you look at it, you see a lot of the same people are on, and it's legal, and it's on the take. We want this grant. Heck, I want a grant for the radio. So there's plenty of blame and ugliness on all sides, my friend.
You should check maybe like the National Endowment for the Arts. They might. I'm serious. They might. They might have such a grant. I
don't like to brag, but when you're talking about endowment, I kind of blush. I guess this Vince Russo. I'm going to hear 7-7. So I don't know why Bernie's doing this.
Please don't. When you say stuff like that, please don't mention my name right after that.
No, but listen. This is a true story, and some people are going to get a laugh, a bigger laugh than they'd want out of this. So the other night, because of what I do, I actually dream this stuff. I actually dreamt, now I'm not kidding, that I don't know what Bernie or somebody else did, and I said, oh my God, it looks like I have to vote for Trump. And I wake up, and the first story I come across is that Trump doesn't want Sotomayor or Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I don't know if you heard that story that I did before.
Yeah.
That he died. And I said, oh my God, what was I thinking? But I actually dreamt it. But such is the case. And you know why I dreamt it? Because it was part of a conviction. I had done a monologue earlier in the day, and anyone who does the news knows what I'm talking about. You wind up living this stuff too much. And my monologue was about how the ends justify the means. And if that's where we've gone, if it's just about the issues that helped me personally, maybe I should vote for Trump. Maybe he'll be better for a private businessman like me. And so it was that kind of thinking. In other words, once you give up the ghost, Vince, and I wanted your reaction to this, once you give up the ghost of caring about what Republican democracy is, this form of government, then all bets are off. It's like when the Titanic sunk. Why should I care about saving your ass?
Yeah, you're right. And it's tough because I think in the current political climate, we keep getting these extreme positions. I mean, you don't have somebody in the middle on either party who can be reasonable about stuff, who can come to some consensus and compromise and actually get things done. Bob, I say this over and over and over again. The first thing we have to do is get term limits. We can't have Mitch McConnell or Nancy Pelosi in there forever.
Oh, they're like puppets.
We got to get people like that out, and I think term limits will do it. There was an interesting.
It's not a silver bullet, though.
It's not. Of course not. It's not. But you know what? I think it's better than what we got. There was an interesting story the other day that the governor of New Mexico. So there are sheriffs around New Mexico in various counties who have, by popular, not vote, people didn't actually go and vote, but by popular opinion, have declared those counties gun sanctuary counties. And they said that if they pass any gun laws that they feel are not constitutional, they're just not going to abide by them. So the governor said, well, you know what, all of you sheriffs, if you're not going to uphold the law, you should resign. Okay, that sounds pretty reasonable, right? Well, my comment to that was, well, Governor, if you're not going to uphold the immigration laws, you should resign.
I thoroughly understand that. That's why when you had a same thing is when they ruled that gun owners had the same right or governments had the same right to create sanctuary cities, it is exactly the same dynamic, and that's still yet another step towards the slippery slope I'm talking about. Having done this for 15 years, my feelings about immigration have become very confused because America should be a place where people want to come when they are frightened, when they can't make it, but we should have a system to do it legally. AB, I have never had a good answer, as much as I like immigration. I've never had a good answer for the caller that says, "But Bob, it's against the law," and they're absolutely right.
Yeah.
What about,
by the way, what you were speaking about just before I came on.
Yes.
If you want to play for another country,
go ahead.
Your grandmother was from Italy.
Yeah.
You can apply for Italian citizenship.
I can.
Yep.
Can I get an apartment in let's see, where do I want to live? I wanted to live for a while. What's the great city there on the water? Oh God, I'm losing my mind. I wanted to live there,
Naples?
Naples, but it's sinking. By the
No,
time,
that's Venice.
Venice. I'm sorry, Venice. Thank you. It's sinking, and well, actually,
But no, you would live in Calabria, right? You're Calabrese.
I'm not Calabrese.
Hey.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm Neapolitan. No. Well, my daughter. Did I tell you my daughter bought me one of those? My brain
Ancestry thing.
Thank you. She says I'm mostly Sicilian, and I just keep thinking of my grandmother yelling at me, "The only good Sicilian's a dead Sicilian." Thanks, Grandma.
Well, our mutual friend Tony has dual citizenship. His dad was from Italy, and he applied to the Italian government, and you got to document it somehow.
For what purpose?
Just for the hell of it,
He needs a life, and there's there's the biggest workaholic we know, but yet I don't get it.
So you can get, you can play for the Italian hockey team.
For the Calabrese Meteors or Calabrese Comets. Wait, no, but wouldn't it be better to be Barese? And this is only Italians can get away with what they're doing, what we're doing now. Wouldn't it be better to be Barese? What is that? Hardheads, right?
Yeah, right.
The Barese head breakers. Every ethnicity has it. And since it's an anecdotal story, I could say this. I remember I got a promotion at Merrill Lynch once, but it was a promotion where I went to one of these real operating areas with lots and lots of people, and it was a wonderful place to work. I love working there, but it's very diverse. And one of the managers that worked for me, and the best way I can put it is he was an African American, literally through and through, African American, not Caribbean or whatever. So, in fact, I can't say his last name. Maybe it's 30 years ago. I guess I can because he had the same name that the great Yankee announcer did, Bob Shepard. Hey, Shep, I'm looking for a guy named Al, whatever. I won't say his name because Shep and I were close. He wouldn't mind this. And he's, so-and-so. He's right there. I said, no, I don't see him. Who is he? The coconut. And I said, what? And he goes, yeah, man, the coconut. He's from, I said, what are you talking about? Oh, yeah, no. He's Jamaican, man. Everton Irish. I go, what are you doing? and so among every ethnicity, they have that. And then another person would come in my office and say she didn't like this guy. And she was an African American, again. And she didn't like the guy because he was from Trinidad. And she said, yeah, those tricky Trinis. So, and these are all ethnic stereotypes that we all use and people use. And I'm sure, well, certainly no harm intended by me. But even the Irish, they have the shanty Irish and the cut lace Irish. I don't know what that means, except in the movie The Departed when DiCaprio's arguing with that other guy. And he goes, you were like two different people, cut lace Irish on the weekends, and then you went into the Southie, and anyway. So what's your background, young man? Where are your parents from?
My parents, of course, was born here, but my grandparents were born in Italy, all four of them, and they were from the general Naples area. Supposedly on my father's side, they were from Sorrento.
Take me back to Sorrento.
Ernesto
1938.
And my mom's side was from Naples, which is the other side of the bay. Sorrento and Naples are across
Yes.
the Bay of Naples. But when they said that, it was like somebody saying they were from New York, but really they were born in
Oh, right.
Brooklyn or Staten
Queens,
Island,
or even Long Island. Yeah, sure. All
or
right.
even Long
Now
Island.
let's go to a sensitive place on this map. Mrs. Russo, where were her, where were her where's her family from?
Well, that is it depends on it depends on what year you're talking about, because the maps change so much in Central Europe. Her father's side was from Sicily.
Oh, well, hey, be nice. Go ahead.
And her mother's side depend on, again, the map. It was either Poland, the Ukraine, or something in Central Europe.
Slavic.
So of course we use just the general rubric Polish. So,
Yeah, I bet she loves that. You came up with the only joke I ever tell on the air, because it's anecdotal and you said it, was your poor wife, who's Sicilian and Polish, and telling her that she stabs herself in the back is one of the greatest jokes of all time. But again, but it's funny how that is, and I'm glad that we can talk about it openly. The Jewish folks don't get after one another. I never really hear anything about that. They don't. They seem to be all okay with each other, and yet they come from across the planet, particularly different places in Europe, Russia, Germany, the Slavic countries, etc.
That's true, but a very, very dear friend of mine is Jewish, and he really gets, and we laugh about the Jewish stereotypes, because in all ethnicities there's stereotypes.
Yeah, like I'm a backstabbing weasel, but go ahead.
So it's always funny how people will talk about the stereotypes. I mean, but now it's politically incorrect to even mention that kind of stuff. And, because someone is always offended.
Yeah. Well, hopefully nobody's by this conversation, because the conversation, A, is anecdotal, and B, it's based on what people go through in real life. And, I mean, the world's changed. You can't kid like you did with friends and family. Well, you can at a dinner, but it's still difficult. I mean, I'm going to hell. I have, as you know, a Muslim brother-in-law, and I used to, I was a teenager when we met. I was a teenager when we met, and I started calling him Baba, because my only relationship to the Middle East was Ali Baba.
Right.
So he's still Baba to this day, and here he is, a retired, successful aviation engineer who had top secret clearance from the United States government. And whenever I say him, "Hey, Baba, how you doing?" he's just totally used to it. Until he yells at me and he goes, "Robert, shut up." He does.
Well, again, other long time friends that as well as that are friends. This one woman, since the day I met her, it was always these kind of saucy jokes and pseudo propositions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That we've always laughed about over the years. I went to, I'm not going to identify them by name, but I went to high school and college with her husband, so we go way, way back. And she and I were talking relatively recently, and she said, "Oh my God," she says, "remember how we used to joke?" She said, "Now, you couldn't possibly say any of that stuff." And I said, "I know." I says, "My political career is in your hands."
Oh, it's absolutely true.
Because you could say, 40 years ago, he said such and such to me.
And you know what? You know what? No one's going to report. Now, this is going to have people turn off their radio, and some call me square, and some people praise me, but whatever. I had an incident back, it's almost 50 years now, when I was a young executive, where a woman hit on me very overtly and drastically after a Christmas party. And it was all mine, had I been so inclined. And I took her in a conference room. This was after we were going up to call the cabs. got her filled with coffee, called a cab, put her in the cab, and called her. I mean, we were both in our early 20s. Called her mom with whom she lived and sent her home. Now, that story is never going to make the news when I get put on the carpet someday. But some of the salty jokes I've told in my life are going to be there. It's interesting, isn't it?
Well, people don't know this, but I'm gonna reveal it. That you have probably the most incomprehensible handwriting of anybody I ever met.
What? Yeah, and
do you remember that time when you were in customer service,
yeah,
and you said to the secretary, could you just write this note, because your handwriting is very nice, and she said, why are you harassing me?
Yeah, I know. No, what I did do in this day and age, I couldn't, because I used something that was appealing. In retrospect, yeah, it was, she was rough on me, but I used a phrase I should not have. I said, I would like a more feminine handwriting. That was what I said. And,
okay.
But she tore my guts out like I was.
Really, that's harassment?
No, but it was an innocent thing. It really was on my part. And eventually the woman and I, she got to know me, got along very well. But I meant nothing by it. But I certainly couldn't do it today. But the problem that we're running into with political correctness, as you know, is some of the greatest comedians in the world now will not go on college campuses.
I know.
And the humor comes from truth and reality. Now, people confuse truth with factual truth with emotional truth, and they're very different things. Emotional truth is, I do want to kill you, Vince, when you talk about the Canadians, but I'm never going to do it.
That's nice to know.
Emotional truth is, I'm going to stab Jake later when he realizes all the hockey games I got wrong 2 days ago. But I don't do it. Similarly, the kinds of things that people do when they talk about their ethnicities or their friends or their wives or their husbands or whatever it happens to be, those are emotional truths, but they are not the definitive facts.
Yeah.
Like John Bailey just walked in, and my emotional truth is he's dressed like a normal human being for a change.
Oh, boy. That's pretty rough.
No, look. Are you watching on TV? Yeah, look. Let me put his. Look, he's got a white shirt. I'm going to put him under the lights now.
Uncover the camera.
I just did. There it is.
No, you didn't. There he is. He looks great. What are you talking about?
Well, that's what I'm saying. He looks great. This is like putting lipstick on a pig. I don't know what I'm doing here.
Gee.
I don't know. So. By the way, John, now Mr. Bailey, let me put his, while we're doing this, and I'm going to get in trouble, let's go the whole route. John Bailey, good morning.
Good morning.
Now, John is our man in White Plains, whiteplainscitizen.net. He comes in person, which we enjoy. John, is Bailey Scottish or Irish? What is Bailey?
No, I'm an adopted child, so...
Well, that explains a lot.
That's right. That's right.
See, that's the kind of kidding we can't do now. If he was in the locker room, we'd yell at him, even your own parents didn't want you. But I was given up at birth, too, for a while. I was down in the Texas League for about 7 years. So, hey, listen, Vince, thank you so very much.
All right.
You have
a good day, guys.
Yeah,
bye.
Bye-bye. Vince Russo, everyone. It is 7:34, and the aforementioned John Bailey is in the house. John, we're going to take a break, but this is too interesting. Were you really adopted?
Yes.
Okay. Well, no.
Yes, right.
Now, were you in a foster home, or were you adopted at birth?
I was adopted. I don't know exactly when.
So you had to be living
within the first year of life.
So and they told you that. So
yes.
Do they have do people who adopt children have a moral obligation?
Well, I think it's. I don't think you need to tell them, but it's always helpful to know that.
No, and I'm not picking you on these
because,
things.
You get it out of the way, and it's not something that they love me like their own child, which is what you should do.
Well, yeah. Well, I was the only reason I say it, not to put you on the spot. I was in a foster home for 7 years, so I can.
Oh my goodness!
No, I'm fine.
I'm sorry about that.
No, don't be sorry. No,
that explains a lot.
I knew you were going to say that. You beat me. I pulled my punch, and you went right after me. See that? I pulled the nice guy. I got it right. But you see that, Jake? Did you know? Don't he's just shaking
No,
his head.
never give
between the
never
eyes.
good a natural ad libber a line like that. No, you can't do that.
No,
I
touche.
have a tendency to
Folks,
ad lib.
I put my sword down, and he put his right in my yard.
Yes.
Oh, well, you stay right
But
there.
well, you see, no, look, I'm sorry I opened this wound.
Well, look at this. He's pouring salt in it now. No, it's fine. No, but Bailey, now, since the parents who took pity on this ugly little baby and adopted you, now, is Bailey Irish, do you know? Is it Irish or Scottish, Bailey? Do you even know?
By the what?
Is Bailey your freaking name? Is it?
It's not. Bailey is the name of my parents.
No, but I'm talking about your parents. Do we know what ethnicity they are?
Well, my wife did one of those.
Oh, I love this. Go ahead. Your ancestry,
you spit
genetic,
in a bag
yeah,
and
you
they
spit in
send
a
it
bag,
away,
yeah,
and they
fine.
spend
That's
a
what I was
couple
talking.
$100,
And
and they come back with a bunch of crop.
And what'd they come back with?
Well, they said I was English, Irish,
Well, that's what I'm
I mean,
getting
I really look Irish, don't I?
No.
No, of course I don't.
No, you
That's
don't.
why I knew that this was an absolute scam.
It's not a scam.
Of course it's a
Well,
scam.
what percentage of you
It's a
was
way to
Irish?
make money.
I mean, I knew some of my stuff. They knew where my ancestors came from, and they found some of them, actually.
Well,
Although, which was
I
embarrassing
always
for
like
me
to
because
think of myself
my
as
background
Greek
was murky.
myself.
You know, I didn't know. Did you ever meet your biological parents?
No.
Well, okay.
No, my feeling was that the person that gave me up,
That's how I felt. I never,
You
I never
know,
had
it
one.
would
I never
not-
had. Did you ever have an urge?
it would
to,
not help anyone.
Did you ever have an urge to meet them or find
No.
them? That ditto with my father. Ditto.
No,
All right.
it was just it was just something I never worried about. Of course, if my parents hadn't treated me so well, maybe I would have. But I mean, the thing would be that
So give me a little
was a
hope
great-
here. Does it hurt you that I've reopened these wounds? Good. John, stay right there. We gotta do the weather. Stay there.
it's the past.
The delightful John Bailey is with us. He is the managing editor and publisher of WhitePlainsCitizen.net. We love to call him our man in White Plains, but it's really his work that we co-opt when he's here. He's also the host of two TV shows, White Plains Weekend. Wait a minute. What's the other one?
People to be heard.
Folks to be listened to. Change it.
Yes.
I just said that. All righty, let's take a look at the weather, and I have it here under the pile of many stories. Oh, my God. Do you think that my weather report is going to get the virus from the stories about Corona?
Windy.
No, I turned your mic off, so it's weather. Whether or not, I will do the weather. It is 45 degrees, and the rain has stopped. The temperature is going to level off at 45 degrees today. Tonight, fair skies and windy. The temperature will be 23. But wind chills will make it feel like 12 here across the Sound Shore. Friday, it'll be windy with a mixture of sun and clouds. The temperature will be 38 degrees. The wind will be out of the west, 15 to 25 miles an hour. And if you are the kind of person that wants a nice Saturday, well, you got to think about that because Saturday is going to be partly sunny and breezy. The high will be 35. Tonight it will be, or rather, Saturday night 20. And of course, the weather is brought to you exclusively by United Hebrew of New Rochelle, voted one of America's best rehabilitation of senior care campuses. And it's right here in New Rochelle. Visit uhgc.com. And this, let's say it's the bottom of the hour. It's supported by pluginvirtualreality.com, Dominic's Fine Cigars, the law firm of Pena and Con, and Aging Issues Management and their partners, Aging Issues Radio. They were here all night last night. You had to see it. Jake, we were using our green screens and putting video out there and filming, and we even did our first, we did a pre-pilot broadcast of podhockey.com. And so we are on a roll, but the guy who's been on a roll for several years covering the news is John Bailey. Now, remember, after John Bailey, we'll spend some time with Jake talking about sports. He wants to embarrass me in my hockey picks, but a lot going on now. And, John, you may not even have caught this in the paper today, but now the Astros are being accused of doctoring baseballs for their pitchers, which can be painful. And then Yvonne Hayden's with us today, Andy Spano, and our friends from Choice. All righty. Once again, welcome to Mornings with Bob Marrone. I am he. This is Radio Westchester, your radio station at the train station. Many of you are listening live on Radio Jar, MyTuner Radio. Go to the app, Marrone's or Mornings with Bob Marrone, or radiowestchester.com. We're also available on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Periscope, Oscilloscope. No, I made the last one up. iTunes.
Planet.
But do you realize you could listen now on the space station to me?
Really? Yeah, so Houston.
John, where's your wonderful list you usually hand me? But you
I
don't need
forgot
it. You don't need to give me a list.
forgot it.
What's your top story?
Oh, man,
I don't like playing.
I have to say it's the tremendous increase in sales tax that Westchester County got
A
in the
windfall.
month of January. Yes, unbelievable. 37% up from January of last year.
Wow.
It's an absolute stunner.
What's it being attributed to? Because you still have a lot of people buying online.
Well, my guess is, and this is strictly a guess because the Department of Taxation and Finance would not tell me what they thought it was for.
Okay.
Reason, but I think there was an enormous amount of internet buying just before Christmas.
Because there's now taxes on that?
Right. And there is taxes on it.
That's what I'm saying. I would say there is.
In New York State, finally.
37%.
And I feel that it just was such a rush that it really could not be accounted for in the December figures. So it spills over into January, and it was tremendous. It gives the county a tremendous start on their prediction that they'd get a 27% increase in sales taxes for this year. Now, if that continues, they will, that's the key thing in February. If the February numbers really decline sharply, then we can't make this euphoric prediction that will make 850 million
I
in
like
county
that
sales
word,
tax.
euphoric. Okay,
Yes.
so 37%. Now
It's better than 5%.
Well, that's going to be pretty good in the months and perhaps even
it's
immediate years.
it's
Except,
astounding.
as you know, the governor, and we had a great call with Tom Abenante the other day. The governor has this $6 million budget hickey. But you know, one of the things that Tom Abenante pointed out the other day, the governor actually has less of a problem than he's open about. There was money he should have spent last year that he didn't because he didn't want to appear to go over his self-proclaimed 2% limit in spending. So he simply had the money but didn't spend it and created a shortfall this year.
Well, the big fear is that he is going to dump the Medicaid increase on the county, which means that Westchester County will be in big trouble doing this year's budget.
Or if they make it through this year, next year's budget, they'll get hit right between the eyes. All right, what else do you have, young man?
Well, White Plains sales tax went up too. In fact, after 7 months, the city is now 9% ahead of last year's pace. We've never been that good this far into our fiscal year. We're halfway through.
Fiscal year, is that a term?
Fiscal.
I thought you said physical year.
I always do that. It's so people can make me look bad.
No, I'm doing
exactly.
my...
Everybody does that. I
see. It's right there. You want to look
but
bad.
I don't
right
look
there.
bad, do I, folks? No,
of
course not.
I never did puppets. Hi, everybody. I could do a puppet show with all this stuff. Did you ever meet
No,
Steve?
but I'm always
I've
doing
never done
that.
it. Ever meet Steve the Sleeve? Hi.
I'm always doing that.
Wait, I have to... Steve the Sleeve. No, that's Steve the Sleeve. Hello.
Senior Wences.
Steve.
You have missed your
Steve
calling.
the Sleeve. Now tell me.
No one knows
Okay,
Senior
how come
Wences.
Steve the Sleeve never pays for a drink? How come? Want to know why?
Why?
I get everything on the cuff. See? I'm sorry.
Yes, but
the radios and TVs are turning off.
Senior
across America.
Wences is a 1957 reference.
Later on, Harry the Hanky will
Right.
make his. Okay, so what's your next story?
Well, the next story would quite possibly be that we have an interesting problem. And that is
Oh, you have a problem,
if
all
the
right.
internet sales are sky high, that means the retail aspects
Some are
of,
even shuttering.
Yes, the retail aspects of the downtown developments all over Westchester County. You know, the mixed-use residents and retail to revive the downtown. That may not materialize, and that was borne out Monday because the owners of the White Plains Mall, the decrepit White Plains Mall, which still has a couple of outlets in there, the DMV, the big fly in the
Oh,
ointment.
that where you have those broke. Although there's that one store that sells train stuff, is that still there? Or did they close?
I know. I believe they closed. But
Although it was a disaster, it was all dirty and messy. And
well, it's a real old mall.
well,
and
fix the damn thing. What's wrong with you guys in White Plains?
Well, what they now have is a problem, and the developer's legal man came in the common council Monday and asked for a 3-year site plan extension. Okay. That is horrendous. Okay. 3 years. That means they are not thinking of getting the financing to at least 3 years away, because you can't start building without the jing.
Without the who?
Jing.
Oh, money. Cash
money. Dinero. And this may be a wake-up call for the developers already digging away, trying to put up these buildings, trying to sign retail.
That voice you hear is that of John Bailey, White Plains
So
Citizen.
they have to take a look at that. And the reason they can't take a look at it is because the Department of Taxation and Finance in New York State doesn't break down the types of businesses that you are getting sales tax from. They never give you those figures.
Well, heaven forbid.
It's fiscal demographics
well, Look at the people running for the train. Have you seen anybody when you hear skipping yet or tripping over themselves?
It's very windy. They want to get out of this. The Hawk. The Hawk is out today.
Okay. Well, I continue. So what do you got? But see, Jake is always looking out the window when I'm concentrating. Pretty women walk by. See, I'm not like the rest of you. They walk. I don't even look. Continue.
No, I don't look.
I'm a saint.
Yes.
What else do you have, John Bailey?
The saint of the airwaves.
Yes.
Right. But so therefore, this is something that everyone in Westchester who is counting on the retailers coming to the rescue and filling up these developments, they may not be.
The research in places like Bloomberg Business Week and others is that they're going to have to make them experiences and service type businesses. This typical retail is not going to make it. They're going to be very special. All right, what else do you have? You have huge lists, John Bailey.
Well, look, every once in a while, I always forget something when I leave the house. Always.
Wow.
It's sort of part of my DNA.
Yeah,
I just forgot the list this
I don't
morning.
need the list, but you know the things, you know the topics. Well, go ahead. What
right,
else you
if
got?
the brain functions. But the other thing is the debate on Wednesday night. It was Tuesday night.
It was Tuesday night. You're
The
talking about all
debate.
the candidates for the 17th district?
Yes,
Or the
another
37th
disaster.
district, yes.
Well,
Why was it a disaster?
no, I meant the presidential debate.
Oh, well, they're constant disasters.
It was just they never learn. They cannot come out basically say Elizabeth Warren particularly. I lost a lot of respect.
I
for
think
her.
a lot of people have.
And
she was always fact-based and had all these plans, and now
she
she's
was
like a crazy
just
woman.
accusing him of stuff that, let's put it this way: Bloomberg has a lot of class.
Oh, but because he didn't go back at
He
her?
just took those terrible things she said, and also released the persons from non-disclosure agreements that he was talking about. You know, Bloomberg he's not flashy and loud and brassy.
He's the
but
only.
he's
the only
adult
antidote.
in the
He's
room.
the only antidote. In fact, they should use that as the antidote.
Yeah, and well, I just thought the Democrats have missed a last-minute opportunity to show some statesmanship.
Well,
to
no
show
one has
what they
statesmanship
would
anymore.
do,
You know
and
why? Because the extremes of both parties don't want statesmanship. They want it to be like wrestling. And that's just the way it is
you
now.
make a very good point. It's like a sports talk show.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
all it
like
is.
a debate.
No.
No offense, Jake.
No.
No offense.
No offense taken. It takes
no
him a while.
offense.
You notice he reads one word at a time. The Mets. He's out doing his research. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes. So and now we come down to the great Nita Lowy chase.
Yeah. There's so many people are running for
I
that
think
seat.
there are about 12. Now we do know that
10 showed
Ms.
up for the
Borgia
debate.
pulled out,
Yes, she did.
and
And more will too.
yes. Now it all comes down to money. In fact, yesterday, Mr. Schliefer, who is running for that,
Yes.
one of his petition signers came to my door. So the petition signing season is on.
Is upon us.
Is on, and the contest will go to the person with the most money.
You know, the guy who has middling money right now and who's considered the odds-on favorite because he works for her is Buchwald. He's got a very well-oiled machine, but there are other people running, though, of gravitas. I don't think a lot of people had him down as a slam dunk. I don't think that's the case.
Well, I interviewed Kristen Browdy last week, and she comes across really well as a person who is able to work with Albany, and that's because she lobbied Albany when she was a member of the SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, to prevent and eliminate the rule that made you, when you were on the air and you left a station, you couldn't work for another station in the market for a year.
Well, you have that's a part of your agreement.
Yes, well, no more, thanks to her. Right. They got rid of that restriction.
Well, I like that.
And it was a tough one to get past the greedy little networks, and it was...
because they don't want you taking an audience with you. Now, I've interviewed several candidates.
They screw the talent.
And
that's what they do.
Just to be honest, I was very impressed with Farkas. I don't know if you've interviewed her yet, but if you should get a chance. Now, Buchwald, we knew him already. He's an impressive guy. But the biggest surprise thus far was Farkas. This woman's been a deputy State Department leader. Really, really great background.
Well, I haven't touched the District 17 race because too many candidates.
Yeah.
I only have so many shows.
No, I know. Yeah. Well, I've had Mondaire Jones on. Yeah. I've had Farkas. By the way, another race we're following here, and we have on one of the candidates tomorrow, is the district attorney's race. The fact that, I have to be frank, this woman has gravitas. She's an MSNBC reporter. She has a great record as a prosecutor, but still, she's kind of come out of nowhere to run against Mr. Scarpino. And it seems that anyone who can declare themselves further left of the incumbent wants to run. And they're trying to all piggyback on the AOC phenomena.
And Scarpino is now giving us an indictment a day all of a sudden. You know?
Well, it's...
Yeah. It's amazing stuff.
Did you make bail?
What?
Did you make bail?
I would not be given bail.
You would not.
No.
Not going to release you.
Be deemed mouthed and dangerous.
Release you to an innocent public would be a crime.
No.
My guess, John Bailey.
A person who reports the truth and puts out the facts is not liked.
No, you've got. I have as right. Well, you know, you're among a very interesting cast that comes on the show because you're local muckrakers in the best sense. Bob Cox, Hezzy Harris. You guys spend as much time in the courtroom as you do at City Hall.
Well, it's generally getting facts from somewhere because nobody gives you them in the government.
You got to go and then confirm them, and then you'll be accused of putting together fake news or having an agenda.
Of course. But the moment of truth is when you put something out and nobody calls you up and says you're wrong.
Well, John, let me ask you something, and this is something I think about now. Hezzy's our age, Bob's a little younger. How long are you going to do this?
How what?
How long are you going to be doing the news and TV and what you do now?
Well, if I stop doing it, God takes me away.
Right.
This is my mission.
That's
from
what I'm
God.
saying. Yeah, because you've just looked at me as if you've never even considered.
Why
it.
would I stop?
Well, maybe you want to do something else. You and your wife want to travel the world. You want to count pennies, whatever.
Yeah. Well, no, I really like doing reporting. I should have been doing it for years. Instead, I was an advertising writer.
How long have you been reporting now altogether?
20 years.
It is 20 years, huh?
20 years. I've done this is my 21st year with the website and my 20th with the with the interview shows.
20 doing interview shows.
Yeah, once a week.
Once a week.
Yeah,
over
right.
in White
Well,
Plains.
news shows.
Now, where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about you.
Pleasantville. I grew up in Pleasantville, New York, USA, and then I moved briefly to Long Island when I went off to college, and then.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Ohio Wesleyan University, the Harvard of the Middle West.
Wow, it's a good school.
Yes. Well,
clearly they take anybody.
Influential on me.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
What was your major?
Humanities.
Okay.
Yes. I liked Russian literature.
You liked Russian. You know, I did a little bit different. When I turned around 40, I knew that in another decade or so I was going to change careers. I was in corporate communications. So I decided to read and or listen to most of the classics. And what struck me about Russian literature, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, etc., is the fatalism of it. How they just accepted hard times and they didn't expect things to get better. Their expectations were always different.
That's because things were not good in Russia.
No, but very interesting stuff. But really, really, really good stuff. And so I could see why you liked it. But now you made that. You just didn't read a couple of classics. You obviously read a lot more books than War and Peace. And
War and Peace is a very difficult book, and I thought Tolstoy made too much of a character change when Natasha falls for Pierre.
Okay, let me just tell you something.
What?
Now you're going to Anna Karenina. Let me go there. Let me tell you what I didn't
tough
like.
book to
Let me
read.
tell you about that book and what I didn't like. And if folks don't turn off your radio,
I
because
don't like that beautiful chick falling on the tracks.
But let me tell you why I didn't like it. One of the problems, and you just talked about it. There's this rule, unwritten rule in fiction, which makes fiction fiction as much as they try to capture the truth, which is that characters never change their stripes. And so Anna Karenina had every reason to leave her husband and move on. Any reasonable person would say that.
Yes.
Yet he has her die at the end miserably because as a consequence of what she did. It was mindful of when it was a male-dominated world, because she was supposed to be abused and made a second-class person and have to live with it. That was my beef with Anna Karenina, and it still is with that story.
Well,
now, you're an expert at that. Tell me why she had to die.
Well, she had to die because, as I recall the book, she was with child from this guy that would not support her and was just left her to go, a real bastard.
Yes.
And then she had to kill herself because she had no support.
Right. Yes, but the way it's written, at least what I inferred from it, it also was a consistent in the character that she did wrong. Here goes, she should die, and I don't think she did wrong at all. I think her husband was the bad guy, or is that the whole point of the story?
That's the whole point of the story.
Well,
and
they couldn't give her a happy ending, though. They could, or at least a moderate ending.
Well, no. The problem with Tolstoy is what the great thing about the Dostoevsky and Tolstoy and Gogol and Turgenev is that they pointed out the condition of the country and the way people lived and got away with it without being killed by the Tsar.
That's great. Yeah, it's true.
Great writing, and they twisted it in their plots. Crime and Punishment, a great book
Great
about
book, read
guilt.
that too, at that time. By the way, just going back to, because I know we got to move on, and probably no one cares about Russian literature except
Well, they
you
should
and me
read
and a
it.
couple. It is great.
It's
but
gripping.
do you know what stays with you a long time about War and Peace?
What?
When Napoleon arrives in Moscow and there's nobody there to conquer. That is just so rich, because it's like, what are we fighting for? When they abandon the city.
Yeah, right.
There's
it also points out the callousness of people who make war. You know, there's a scene in that where Napoleon is walking among the dead, and he makes this fatuous remark looking at one agonized corpse, and he says, he died well.
Well, that's glorified.
I've never forgotten that scene. I've never forgotten that scene.
Well, you know what?
No one
dies very similar.
well.
In John Annulier's Becket, everybody always remembers Becket for the fact that the archbishop dies being more loyal to God than the king. But one of the great lines in that movie is when Becket is the chancellor and the right-hand man of the king, and he recaptures he recaptures cities in France that actually had belonged to the city, that had belonged previously to Norman cities that had belonged to England before, but he does it peacefully. He arranges for their capitulation. And the generals go to him and say, what do you mean? No sacking and looting and ruining the people? And he goes, hey, the objective was to capture the city and get loot for the king. But their view of war was just to be cruel and mean, and that was the best part of it.
Well, there's a lot to be said for that. The Roman Empire was built by the slaves from conquered cities.
Well, that was the way.
And
the
I
world
was
worked.
always, and the way it was pitched in history courses I took in high school was the Roman Empire was this great Pax Romana. There was nothing peaceful about the Roman Empire.
Well, you know what, though? The truth of the matter is there's no great country on earth that got there by being peaceful. And that's a paradox for another day. John Bailey, what are you doing this week on TV?
On TV, well, I interview Dan Seidel, who has pioneered pro bono the anti-FASNY lawsuit, which is now down in the appellate court. And he talks about the case, and it is a lesson in how citizens can stop things that they don't like.
Wow. When will this be aired? When are you doing it?
It's on Thursday night.
Okay.
Which is tonight, actually,
Okay.
8 o'clock.
So you've already done the interview. It'll be aired tonight.
Right, on Channel 45
What
Fios
time?
at 8 o'clock, Channel 45 Fios, and Channel 76.
And now don't be afraid, folks,
Cablevision.
to go on his wonderful website, whiteplainscitizen.net, find out all the news that's going on in White Plains. John Bailey, interesting stuff. Before you go, one last quickie. Sounds bad. After Russian literature, what was your next favorite?
Thomas Hardy.
Thomas Hardy.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. John Bailey, everyone. We will put Jake in this seat of honor. You're listening to Radio Westchester. This is Mornings with Bob Marrone. I am Bob Marrone as we come up on 8:02. And this is that segment of the program brought to you by Dominic's Fine Cigars, licensed retailer with a big selection, including Arturo Fuente, Padrons, and more. Dominic's Fine Cigars, located on Boston Post Road in Larchmont. John always hangs around for this. He enjoys Jake Schaefer as much as you do. The weather, once again, it's 45. The rain is gone. It's going to get a little chilly tonight, 25 degrees. No rain, though. 25 degrees, and it's going to feel like 10 or 15. Tomorrow, more of the same. It'll get up to about 38, partly cloudy skies, and then on into Saturday. It'll be a little chillier. It'll be about 32, 33, going up to 38, I'm sorry, but that's how the weather's been rolling the last few days. And the weather's brought to you by the United Hebrew of New Rochelle, top of the campus of senior care. Visit uhgc.com, and the top of the hour is brought to you also by United Hebrew of New Rochelle, the top-rated campus of senior care, aging issues management, the law firm of Pena & Con, and plug-in virtual reality. And we will turn our camera. We see both men in this instance, but of course, Jake Schaefer, he does a lot of different things here at the radio station, from promotion to sales leads to sports commentary, and he has been a busy bee. And what we're going to start out, before he holds me accountable for my picks, okay, we are going to start out with more listener mail. Jake, you've been gathering mail. Will I be surprised at what I'm about to read?
Your voluminous listener mail was overflowing, so we had to take care of some of it.
Okay, well, we've seen you this morning. Listener mail, folks. Here we go. You are a talk show host. Oh, great stuff. Curiously, Merv, you are a talk show host. Who is your favorite talk show host, past and present? It's a combination of two different people. My favorite, and this has nothing to do with his personal picadillos, was Charlie Rose. If I could do anything, it would be Charlie Rose. And a guy from the past, you may remember John David Susskind.
Yes.
When he was on Saturday nights, and the guy who mixed humor and interviews better than anyone was Don Imus, recently passed away. He could put humor in the middle of a horrible story. And more recently, I've come to admire the long-form interviews of Howard Stern. But again, if you ask who influenced me the most, it would be Susskind, Charlie Rose, and Don Imus. Baby Bobby, please tell your devoted listening audience your favorite memory of the young 2020 year. Have you accomplished your resolutions yet? Don't have any resolutions, but my favorite memory, geez, this makes me such a hambaloney, but it's true, was going to my grandson's senior night as a varsity hockey player. He's been coming to my games since even before he was a toddler. Always hangs around with me. Decided to play himself, and to see him have a successful varsity career, but also be a sensitive guy.
Bobby baby.
Not I
baby,
saw
Bobby.
that. Baby. Thanks.
You gotta show up to one of these rehearsals one of these days.
Yeah. Anyway, that was from Rita in Pelham. But yeah, no, I haven't accomplished any resolutions yet. Okay, dear Bob, did I do that okay, Jake?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now that you are famous, is it hard to go out in public? Do you wear disguises? No, I don't have to wear. Does your autograph go for on eBay? Nothing. People would pay me not to give them an autograph. Harold from Mount Vernon. In terms of being famous, well, semi-famous in a locale, I guess. Every once in a while, someone will recognize my voice in a restaurant, and there's, of course, now that the facials are here, people will know me. But I don't have to wear any disguises. But the best story, Jake, was I had clipped a car in the old diner over on North Avenue. Did I miss anything? Give it me if I did. I clipped the diner. I clipped a car, and then I went back in the diner to say, hey, who owns this, blah, blah, blah. I clipped you. Is it bad, blah, blah, blah. And the person recognized my voice and said, hey, I listen to you every morning. Forget about it. That was the best part. But that's about my experience with fame. And occasionally, the minimal fame you get from doing this, I get to do certain, most of which I do pro bono, but some I get paid for if I MC a major event or something like that. That's my fame. Okay, Bob, your radio studio seems impressive.
It is.
But wait, if you could destroy one piece of equipment, what would it be? Oh, let me count the ways. I would destroy but it just needs to be redone, what we call a button bar for music, because it's too far away. When you see me reaching there.
Bob has very small hands and arms.
Thank you. I would destroy that and have a bigger one right here, and it would be before me. So that's what I would destroy. But at different times, testing out the equipment, this has been an experiment we've shared with the audience, and we do something that's supposed to be a no-no in radio. But again, one of the things I learned from Stern is there's no reason to hide what goes on behind the scenes if you're really going to share the experience with people. I'm going to have to share all the ugly things. But yeah, there's equipment I'd like to break. Or the mistakes I make. Like the other day, there's a screen I'm looking at, which I'll show you. The actual transmitter, now you can't see what's going on there, is here. That's the major piece. We're not on air if that's not on. And up here is the TV that we monitor so that we can see how you two look, et cetera. Mm-hmm. But those two things are what put us out on the air. Well, the other day, I forgot to clip one little button in turning it on in the morning. Just one little freaking button. Mm-hmm. And
the on-off switch.
It was worse than that. It was a switch that when I didn't turn it off, sir, meant that people got two shows at once. Horrible. And that was all on me. Naturally, I wanted to blame the geeks, but it was all on me. Anyway, so now you got it. But there's a lot of equipment in here. It looks like a spaceship. And one day as we grow, I won't be doing all of the technical stuff, but right now it's been economical and useful to do that. So that's thank you for the mailbag. We have an assignment for you, by the way. We're going to do it on radio, and we've talked about it. Whether we do it today or tomorrow, you work it into your schedule. We're going to go out on the train station. Very specific question. I need to know this so I can die happy. Do you... Or maybe we should rephrase it. I want you to ask people on the train station, what is the difference between a Republican democracy, a parliamentary democracy, or a direct democracy, and which does America employ?
You think these people are going to actually...
That was my thought, too.
You think
it's a little over their heads.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I'll get thrown in the train tracks before they'll give a nice answer.
Okay, no, but then make it down to one word answer.
These poll questions should be yes or no.
Well, I'm going to get there. Do you understand what a Republican democracy is? Republican form of government.
I was thinking something along the lines of coronavirus, but
you're
the boss.
No. I need this because one of the issues that I have with people who just want to hang their hats on Trump's successes and the things that they like that he does, and let's face it, he's been successful at many things, is Do you just going to hang your hat on his success, even if our form of democracy has been attacked?
So how many
That's the
times am
premise.
I going to get slapped in the face for asking
No,
this
you
question?
won't if you ask it right. That's a fair question. Well, let me. Do you, it's a yes or no. Do you
It seems kind of condescending.
it is
especially to this,
condescending. Well,
to
let's
this-
figure. Well, yeah, but you know what? A lot of people who take the train means they have a good job and they can afford it. It's not condescending. Well, don't ask it that way. But figure out a way. That's your homework. Damn it, because I'm not that smart. All righty, we go now to the sports segment of what Jake does, and we are going to go talk about the coronavirus too. Let me go back to my theory here, Jake. And that's because my great disappointment is in our country. And I'm not being condescending. I get to do this for a living, and it took me years before I really appreciated the difference. But if they don't know the difference, they can't hold Trump or any other president accountable for his or her behavior. It's time to talk sports, and we even have our own. You see me reaching like, it's sports
Just got to get
time.
you a little stick.
I actually got one. Anyway. Oh, I think I have it in the back with the cleaning products. It's time for the other part of Jake Schaefer. He has many different sides, none of them attractive, but his parents listen. But Jake is our sports expert. He also likes to hold me accountable. 2 days ago, I didn't think I did very well. There were a lot of upsets.
You didn't do well.
I
but
just said that, but let's
our
go.
intern did worse. So you picked up a game. You actually picked one more game.
And what was my
our
record?
intern? You were 8-5 on Tuesday.
Well, it could have been worse.
Nick, the intern, was 7-6. You've picked one more game, so now for the season you are 16-10.
16-10.
Nick, the intern, is 16-9. Again, we're not playing point
I'm
spreads
going
or
to
anything.
kick his young butt. A can of whip butt, boy.
Got a nice full slate tonight.
Let's go. I'm ready to go. Bob Marrone's picks. See, now, folks, we officially still call this Jake's Picks of the Week, but during the hockey season after football, well, baseball will probably get Jake back on the case. But right now, the subordinate is me, and in lieu of Jake's picks, there are Bob's hockey picks. Go ahead, Jake. I'm ready to go.
Canadiens, also known as the Habs.
Les Habitants.
Habs are at home against the Rangers. Slight favorites. Canadians are.
We see, I'm not going to root against the Rangers anymore because it just breaks my heart to have to root against them. And when I do pick the other team, I root for them anyway. So give me the Rangers just so I can sleep.
Rangers are always a team to bet against because they never come through.
I hate
Words of wisdom.
you. Words of
They
wisdom.
never come through. They have old stars, and as soon as they hit the playoffs,
You know what you just
they're
reminded me
too
of?
tired.
Remember the great movie The Shining when Jack Nicholson is with Lloyd
That's
the
what I-
bartender?
that's what I was-
Words of wisdom, Lloyd.
Exactly where
Words
I.
of
That was my
wisdom.
quote.
I just had an argument with the old sperm bank upstairs. All right, go ahead. What else you got? I'm glad you like that movie. Me too.
Blues at home against the Islanders. Blues
Oh.
favored.
God, give me the Blues. Sorry, Isles. Sorry, Tom from Pelham.
Sharks at home favored against the Devils.
Devils.
Another underdog.
Woof, woof.
Lightning at home, no point spread against the Blackhawks.
Oh, man, they have been playing badly. But you know what they're going to do tonight? They're going to get even. They're going to whoop up on the Hawks. They're going to have bird for supper. Well, it's Blackhawks. I'm thinking, but no, it's Indians, I guess. Sorry.
Maple Leafs a road favorite against the Panthers.
Panthers.
Another underdog.
Barkov. See, Barkov, underdog, get it?
I do. Bruins at home, big favorite against the Stars.
Even when they lose, I don't root against the Bruins. They scare me.
That's the name in sports.
They're great.
Boston Bruins. Yeah.
Canucks on the road, favored against the Senators. The Senators must be bad.
The Senators are bad.
Canucks are big favorites.
Give me another. But you know what? Guess what? Little Bobby's going to go with the dog. Woof, woof.
Like it. That's
That's the
4.
official dog.
Another home or another road favorite. Wild favored big time over the Red Wings.
You got to go with the Wild. The Red Wings. If the Red Wings were Undertakers, nobody would die.
They must be terrible.
And you know why? There's an interesting side. There's a corollary. They made the playoffs record 25 years in a row. Do you know what that means? They had what's one of my favorite Jewish terms? But they had bupkis for draft picks for 25 years, and it caught up with them. So they got to rebuild.
Who was their star? Iserman?
Iserman was their star, but they also had, during their peak, they had the famous Russian five, Fedorov.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
And another guy, my favorite Russian, two, Fetisov, and then later on, Datsuk. Oh, my goodness. But Fetisov didn't even come to the NHL until he was after 30. One of the greatest defensemen I ever saw. And he played for the Devils for a while, and then he won a couple of cups with the Red Wings. Just a great. And my favorite player was actually a second liner, a 5'9", 165-pound center by the name of Igor Larionov. Just a beautiful hockey player, smart. Mostly used to call him the professor. Just so smart. He played defense, offense. Never got a lot of goals, got enough, got a lot of assists, but just a brilliant player. And one of those guys that had real heart. When he went back to Russia after he retired, he had a big game for all the ex-Red Wings to come on over. Just a very special player. Anyway, I can go on and on. The Russian Five, they made a movie about them. Watch it if you get a chance, folks. Go ahead.
Predators at home favored against the Flames.
Oh, boy, I'm going to go with the Flames. The Preds have not been getting it done, and the Flames are starting to play better hockey.
Another road favorite, the Capitals favored against the Jets. Jets at home.
I don't root against the Caps. I don't bet against the Caps either. Just what's his face has to do is show up and get 2 goals. So it's ridiculous. They're capping. What else you got?
That is the slate for the night. 5 underdogs. Very impressive. We'll try and get our intern doesn't like to wake up before noon, so I'll try and get his picks sometime.
I would like to be him get up before noon. It is 8:16. Jake is in the house. Jake, you saw the back of the post today, and I'm going to hold it up for people. Best sports pages on the planet are the New York Post. God bless them. All righty. Cole scoffs at idea Astros develop sticky substances. Now, is this like what we do in politics, where we get so carried away? Is this the Hillary Clinton is pimping out babies in a pizzeria in Virginia, or is there some meat to this story?
Well, it's certainly not that far-fetched to think that. I think a lot of major league players do something with the ball, scuff it, use some kind of.
It's not that far-fetched at all.
Yeah, so maybe he did. He's a great pitcher. Maybe the Astros have every cheating scheme in the books. They've mastered everything.
But how much of it is paranoia? That's the question. Probably a lot. Well, do your research. Let us know.
They should be out of the league.
What other tricks do you have up your sleeve that we're going to be hearing about next? You do want to do the coronavirus, so you should out on it. But there's got to be a way to ask the question without being condescending. How many people really know because I don't think we do. I think most Americans.
I would just think I'm going to ask it, and I'm going to get a lot of blank stares and maybe physical violence. But that answers
it. No, but you see, you can click blank stares. Blank stares. Don't know. Think the earth is flat. Voted for Trump because he eats hamburgers.
Which side of the train tracks do you want me to be on? Do you want me to going to New York City or going to Connecticut?
No, going to New York City.
Okay.
Because
maybe we could do
these are the captains and captainesses of
we could do an experiment. Maybe I'll ask 10 people on one side and 10 people on the other side.
The ones that are going north or south. Well, yeah, but
those are the ones heading to Canada.
All right, I got to chase the both of you out here because our new guest has walked in. It is time, as we said, 8:20. In 2 minutes' time, we will meet with Ivar Hayden. I want to thank Jake Schaefer, our sports guy, our producer of special projects, Jake Schaefer, and of course, the great John Bailey. Take this seat of honor. Our next guest, City Councilman from New Rochelle, Ivar Hayden. He's also an artist, you know. We have such an eclectic group of people that come on this program, and he has a shop here in town. We'll get to him in a moment, but we just want to remind you as we get into the bottom of the hour, it's still 45 degrees. The rain has stopped. It will stay that way. It's going to be cold tonight. The bottom of the hour is brought to you by Aging Issues Management, the law firm of Payne and Kahn, Plug-in Virtual Reality, and Dominic's Fine Cigars. And yeah, we're going to look a little harder at this baseball story. Someone was quoted Jake, a day or two ago. Someone working for the National League was trying to cop out a little bit, or working for Major League Baseball, saying that trying to cheat has always been a part of sports. And I guess they're right, but it's up to them to legislate against it. He's here in person. He ambled over from For some reason, my brain went blank. What is the name, Ivar Hayden, of your shop?
Good morning, Bob. It's called Backstreet Gallery.
That's right. I have this,
That's fine.
what happens during these segues, like at the end of the show, I don't even know my own name.
Yeah.
I go from sports to you to Kate Upton's coming in a little while.
Oh, I'm delighted to hear that.
Yeah, that's my fantasy. In fact, I'm hoping Bernie, since he's giving away so many different things, why doesn't he just take Kate Upton from Verlander and half of his pay and give them to me?
I think that'd be kind of a generous thing to do, especially you could, if you get him your support, with your.
I mean, no problem. I'll die soon. I'll die right in there. Anyway, it's good to have you. Ivar Hayden, a friend, obviously, too, but District 4 here in New Rochelle. Man, I told you this the other day on the phone, but it's true. Driving around is getting really difficult, but I know the good news is it's because of the development. But you must be getting complaints galore because you're with the downtown guy or one of them.
As they say, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Really?
Yeah.
It could get worse than this?
Oh, it's going to get
I couldn't get around the corner.
It's going to get a good deal worse. And don't forget, eventually, and now they're saying perhaps even this year, the Thruway Authority.
No, not the bridge.
The Thruway Authority is. Yeah, so, but we've heard that for the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure.
That's like your
where
better
this is
half.
going.
When you're getting ready to go out at night and she says to you, I've been telling you for an hour, I'll be ready in 5 minutes. Is it like one of those?
Well, I don't have that. I have
Oh,
the
no,
opposite
no.
problem. I always have the opposite problem.
Oh, you're the late one?
I'm always the one who's kind of dragging around. And
What are you preening? You're your own guy. You haven't worn a tie in 60 years.
I just get lost in my thoughts, and
that is a pretty scary place.
Yeah, it is.
You may want to record them for Halloween distribution, Councilman.
No, it is going to get. I think it's going to get considerably more difficult, which is a real problem for obviously for everyone who lives in the city and has to access the downtown. I'm mostly concerned about small business in the downtown. It's going to be extremely difficult for people to survive during this transition period. We actually, I was speaking to Paul Vacchi yesterday, who is the good friend of mine. I
You have a
asked him
friend?
to meet me here. Yeah, I have a friend.
Bring a friend in.
Bring the friend in.
Wait,
yeah.
folks, this is breaking news. Wait, I need my breaking
No,
news.
actually, it's a
thing.
very interesting guy, as a
No, but
matter of
hold
fact.
on,
So,
hold on.
yep.
All right, hold on. I need this song.
Good morning.
Folks, breaking news.
Breaking news.
Do
Breaking
you hear the
news.
song? Do you hear the music I just played? Ivar Hayden has a friend. Oh, my goodness. Break out. Call the Associated Press. UPI. Oh, my God. Breaking news here on Radio Westchester. Ivar Hayden, City Councilman in District 4. He has a friend who's actually in our studio. Stay right there. We're going to interview this very special and brave person. Good morning, sir.
Hello, I'm John.
Good morning.
John, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Now, obviously, you have no life. So tell me a little bit
trying to
about
get
yourself.
one.
What brings you here? You have your Zapata construction hat on. Are you a construction mogul?
Maven.
Maven.
No. I'm trying to learn every day. Therefore, that would create somebody that knows.
I love
a few.
this job.
But, yeah, so tell me your name.
My name is Bob Marrone. I run this joint. I'm also the host of the morning show and producer of the show.
I was driving my son to school at Scarsdale today, and I told him at camp, when I was a camper up in the Berkshires, I did a radio show called WCM Camp Mackinac, and I'd play records, but I'd read the scores, and I would always embellish. San Francisco beat the Mets, and then went to Michigan undergrad. I was the radio announcer for the basketball.
So, see, you like radio? Yeah,
I'm with this program. I've been waiting to come by, Bob.
Yeah, I've been doing morning radio here in Westchester. I've been involved in radio for about almost 20 years. It started in TV when I left corporate America. But I've been doing morning radio, WVOX, many years, WFAS, a couple of other spots.
Yeah, I listen to the radio now. I pretty much stopped doing TV. What do I listen to? WBAI.
You still listen to WBAI?
I have a radio. I went to B&H Photo to get a radio in the city. The guy looked at me like, I said, "Do you have any radios?" They got every single thing on the show.
Well, that's why what we do.
I got
radios.
two.
Oh,
I'm
you
in
got
one
it.
in my bed.
I'm in negotiations. I
Yeah,
can't get
that-
into it with a station to send out a terrestrial signal. But
That's
right
where
now,
it starts right here. It's a beautiful
no,
studio.
but we're on 8 different outlets now. We are
Fantastic.
on our own RadioWestchester.com, Marrone's Mornings with Bob Marrone. We have, those aggregators like radio.com. We're
Sure.
going to get on them soon, too, but we're on
Everyone's an
MyTuner Radio.
aggregator now, right?
Yeah,
Right?
MyTuner Radio.
The way it's
YouTube.
going.
You're right now.
The
You're
way
on
it's going.
Facebook. Yeah,
Oh, no.
let me
It's
see.
live
There
on
it is.
Facebook.
We
yeah.
just built their headquarters.
It's
Talking about-
Halloween, folks. There he is. YouTube, Facebook,
Mark
Facebook.
Zuckerberg is a hero from Ardsley, New York.
I know that.
Let's remember where we've come from. I was born in New Rochelle,
Right.
at New Rochelle
That's,
Hospital.
hey, that's right. That's
You were
right.
born here at
And
the
our
hospital?
business
Yeah.
has been in New Rochelle mostly for 56
Now,
years.
I've
doing
seen a lot of this about
Drywall.
construction. Okay, you're a
We're a
drywall
drywall
man.
contractor. This is our taping company. I only grabbed it because
You like the strings.
we did new. We just got the logo. But Ivar helped
cool.
us develop a possibility, and we're about to go into construction on our new training facility in New Rochelle. It's very
What
exciting.
are you training people to do?
Dude, we have 1,000 carpenters around the country, in 8
Wow.
cities, and they're all union, right, and tapers. So we just did Facebook's headquarters for Zuckerberg and his company, and we're doing another building.
But does he have an
'cause
office here, or did you
technology-
do it out there in California?
in Menlo Park?
In Menlo
we have an
Park.
office, yeah. But the point is, we got better over the years of doing this. My dad is still the CEO, Lou, and the thing is, if
Lou
you-
who? We didn't get your last name.
1P Rappaport. I coach for Sacred Heart League High
Rappaport.
School.
1P.
Yeah, because I'm a high school basketball coach. Last night at the Catholic League playoffs,
Dum.
it had double P in the thing. So I showed my kids, look, I'm an assistant. I used to be a head coach of schools, and I'm an assistant. They shake their head because everyone spells
You
their
know-
name with double
That's-
P.
yeah,
We're
that's
not
right.
double
Right,
P.
so
I'm
that's
giving
what
you
you-
my name
Well,
correctly.
I got to share this with you.
Yes, sir.
I still
Are
play
you
hockey.
Marrone with an R, 2 R's or
2
one?
R's, 2 R's, and no E. I used to have this
Oh,
with Phil
that's different, man.
No, I have the E, but Phil Amicone, Phil Amicone, who was the mayor of Yonkers, he and
Yeah.
I would go round and round on this because he called me Marrone, and I'd say
We had a
no.
Marrone in our company. That's
And I'd say, no, I go Marrone. I said, do you go by Amicone? He goes, sometimes.
right. That's a good way to put it because you have to compare these names.
But
Yeah.
no, I just want to.
Yeah.
I want to
Yes,
share
sir.
this with
Yes,
you.
sir.
As you can tell from the pictures, my grandson plays hockey, but I've been playing hockey 50 years, still do, and coach
Nice.
it as well.
I still play ball.
But-
Yeah.
But I coached, and one of the little known facts about Bob Marrone, I coached industrial league ball for a couple of years, basketball.
Tell me what that is.
Industrial league is like
law
the downtown
firm ball? I play, I'm
law
a
firm,
lawyer
like
too.
you know
I played in the law
the
firm.
Downtown Athletic Association in the
That's
early
awesome.
70s. They had a pretty good league, and I used to coach the Merrill Lynch
When you say
investors.
industrial, what do you mean? Though?
Industrial league is when they're sponsored by companies.
Why is that industrial? I
Indu-
love you, but I
companies,
don't understand.
industrial. Hello.
No, I like that.
This
because
this man's a captain of industry. Bust him to private.
Hey.
Industrial league.
No,
Hey,
I
we're-
love it. It's an old school way to describe it.
No, it
Yeah,
is
no,
an old
it's-
school
it-
way.
We need more of those.
No, but
by
it
the
is
way.
old school. But my
That's what
point
the
is
training center's
that,
gonna do.
that
We're gonna have a
nothing
court.
for being involved in the game, nothing beats being although Ajita being a basketball coach. You were like a sixth
best.
player.
Well,
It's a lot of fun.
because the game. My high school coach Ronnie Rossi ended up being the Miami Heat's first coach. This is
Okay.
in Westchester High School, early '80s, and when I took from him and learned from Scarsdale's Jack Kamener, and many other coaches now, guys from Queens named Bob Holford in the AAUs. My son's doing it. You gain knowledge and you become a master only
Well-
because of what you can take for what you
Well-
know. Like I'm not a clone of those coaches, but I'm
No,
also
but
not
you know where I got
close
lucky?
to learning. That's
I-
so important.
I
you know?
got cut from the freshman team in high school. I was a guy who could
Where'd
handle
you
the
go?
ball, couldn't Bishop Ford, couldn't shoot.
We play defense. I could see by your
Yeah.
body, you're
No.
like a little pest out
Couldn't-
there.
couldn't
right
you? I
away.
was a
And then
dirty-
he plays hockey
but-
and
but-
he bangs people in the
Oh,
balls.
he's a
Actually,
tough
then
guy.
my
I know
who
brother,
you
my
are. He's
brother who
actually a
played
tough
college
guy.
ball,
Yeah.
my brother
Yeah.
who played college ball, taught me how to be dirty when
Where'd
I
he
couldn't
play?
shoot. He played for Colby. It's a private
Colby
college.
College,
yeah.
sure.
Anyway,
Connecticut?
yes, and he was.
That's a good league,
He was
the
a good
Colby.
shooting guard, and I was garbage. But I could. But I
putting
was
himself
smart.
down.
No,
My
no,
first
no. As a
time meeting
basketball
him.
player, I couldn't shoot.
Deprecating humor.
No. But they cut me. But they made me the manager and a practice player. And Chick
Yeah,
Keegan,
that's so important.
Chick Keegan from St. Francis, and a number of different great coaches
learn the game
out of
that
that
way.
Franciscan mold.
Oh, nice. Well,
you've
I'm
got,
at
of
Sacred
cour-
Heart now, which
right,
is a
but
Capuchin.
I really
management.
learned the game, and I really learned. Then I was an NCAA official scorer back in the 70s.
Do you know Timmy Higgins, the ref?
Yeah, sure.
He's a friend. He sells us building materials.
Well, let's go to what you do
But
because
anyway,
I'm
you
limited
like
as to
all my
time.
construction?
No,
It's
no,
so
no.
important to
What
understand.
buildings are you building here, and have you done? What are you doing for Ivar that he likes you so much?
I tried.
Actually, nothing. I like John. It's the other way around. Actually, I met John at one of the city council meetings when his company came in to pitch a building they want to build here in New Rochelle.
Which one is it?
Which is down on. It's actually down on Fifth Avenue in adjacent to Pelham. Part of the property is actually in Pelham. They currently have a facility in Pelham.
Oh, I know.
So it's
I know
that
area
corner
well.
property. Do you know the corner
It's the other
of
side of the city.
Are you one? I know it well.
Yeah.
Like like for
North
example,
Pelham, they call it.
No,
Yeah.
because
And I was very impressed with
I
it.
want to kill whomever did all that digging on Lincoln Avenue that has me late all the time. But it's all done now.
But that's not so
up
bad
further.
right now.
We're
Yeah,
like really
yeah.
in an amazing area because Nick Bollettieri was from North Pelham.
Hey,
North
Nicky.
Pelham. Yeah.
You gotta,
The
the guy's
claim
got
is
to be
Nick
called Nicky.
Bollettieri.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Hey,
he was the one with
Nicky.
Andre Agassi. You remember, right?
Yeah,
With
yeah.
the tenant.
Right.
Nicky.
Right.
So North Pelham is a distinct neighborhood that New Rochelle is connected to.
Mm-hmm.
And we're a beacon to people to come into New Rochelle. Everyone's talking about here. And so Ibar said, well, oh no, the mayor said, or somebody said, it would be great if you could build it down here. I said, no, the whole point is building it as a beacon to go into New Rochelle
right.
from North Pelham, Eastchester, the Chester Heights, which is Bronxville. I don't know.
Our own
Yeah.
gateway to New Rochelle.
And
See,
Mount Vernon.
I should market for you. The gateway to New
You're going
Rochelle.
to.
You see that?
We're
But
gonna
this
have
is
a studio there
what
for you,
was
Frank.
very interesting to me is John's building basically a
John Rappaport with one
adding
B
on,
from
adding on to
Zapata.
the corporate headquarters he already has, is building this training facility, which is going to be a tremendous benefit to people
No,
in this
and
entire
jobs.
area
No,
looking for jobs.
that's why I said
Exactly.
industrial.
That's
Before
what
I
we're
went to,
talking
I
about.
used to be a corporate trainer. That
That's
was
right.
my
So
my
important.
career was I
really?
ran Merrill Lynch's training school for about 12 years.
Where was that, in the city?
In the city, and then in New
That's
Jersey.
fascinating.
We built a whole campus and everything down there.
And we're having stretch and flex. We're required on
Stretch
job.
and flex.
We have a woman.
I think I could enjoy this depending on who's stretching and flexing.
Exactly. The woman
going
who's
to hell.
running it is a former police.
You got to stop this. You know that.
No, I might
Come
go.
by
gotta
and
stop
visit.
this.
No,
You're gonna come by. Do you ever do
No.
any field work? Like
No,
you're
let
sitting
me
in the
explain
thing, you
something.
Go out in the field.
When
and
my
talk?
daughter was young, my wife had said to me at the time, she said, I can't go to Christine's dance recital today. You've got to go. I don't want to do that. I don't know. I took her to dance, and the instructor was up there. Well, needless to say, I started taking her to dance.
Well, let me tell you something.
I'm
Don't talk
sorry.
about this now. Blumberg. I was out in Beverly Hills for a Blumberg event. You
Yes.
know, where they're trying to. I call him Jerry Blum. My dad has a friend from the country.
Jerry,
club.
his name
Jerry
is Michael.
Blum-
You're
No,
not
no.
going to help him get erected by calling
No,
him Jerry.
My dad has a friend from the country club.
I love this guy.
Named Jerry Blumberg. So I've always called him Blumberg. Why? He's out of touch somewhat with the stop and frisk. So
He's
I'm
out of touch
flying
with a
to
lot of things,
California. We have an
unfortunately,
office
yeah.
in L.A. And a woman on the plane says, come to my house, sitting next to me. We have an event for I call him Blumberg or whatever. The point, Mayor Mike. And I said, great. So I go to this Beverly Hills event. I even have a pin that I got at the event from the planning commissioner because I'm so friendly. Nobody gets those pins. But look at that.
Look,
I
from
brought
the
it to show
Beverly
Ivar.
Hills planning.
That's the exact pin that you see.
This is made out of plastic. I
Show
could
the
get a better
people.
pin in a
No,
gumball
but
ball
look,
machine.
You don't understand.
Right on,
That's
there
the
you go.
city logo.
Look at
That's
that.
The
What-
city,
Oh, wait.
just like New Rochelle, just rebranded. Look, the guy
Here,
gave
here,
it.
you want a pin? I'll give
You
you a
can
pin.
keep one.
Give
Keep
him
it.
one of the magnets and then the thing.
I
there
have
for
two.
the-
If you wanted it to give.
Give him a lollipop.
Wow.
too.
Who comes?
No,
who
no.
comes bearing gifts? Show
No,
Ivar.
I
It's not
wouldn't
him.
want to
Yeah.
carry this because I might get mugged. Here, you keep
Show
it.
it to Ivar.
Here.
I wanted him to see it.
It's my
Yeah,
next.
look at
That's
that.
the
Look at
actual
that.
city.
Beverly
That
Hills.
sign.
Yep.
So the planning commission.
Oh, so they put this up.
Because
on
I
the,
asked the question. Let me tell you the question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, what's the
Because
question?
it's tough. There was
Yeah.
200 Beverly Hills people. But when I saw Mike at an event last year at British Consulate, there was a thing where he spoke. He walked by and I said, we have an office in Medford, Mass. for a drywall company up in New England. And he says, I grew up. He stopped. He said, my mom,
Yeah, he grew up there.
Yeah, his house he owns still. And he said, I call the house sometimes to hear my mom's voice still. She passed away a while ago.
That's nice.
I said, sorry about your mom. I said, that is a great story. And it made me think that show his softer side of who Blumberg is. Because he would be the best of all, in my opinion.
Well, no,
But what he
I'm
said
rooting
is his
for him,
sexist
too.
remarks. What you just said, the misogynistic.
That
I'm
wasn't
not-
misogynistic.
No,
it was
listen,
supposed to be salty. It's
it
radio.
is,
It's supposed
it
to
is.
entertain.
No,
And keep listening.
No, take
Yeah,
the
but
salt
you're-
out.
yeah.
You're
No,
what,
I could
frothing
be
the
killed.
waters of misogyny. Now, the reason I said it, I probably have some of that in me, sir. I'm an Italian Jew. We've looked into this. My
Italian
dad
Jew.
has
What a mess.
olive skin, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
You,
An
Ivar
Italian
might-
Jew.
No, we go back through the when we got kicked out of Spain and Portugal, we go back to Oporto, which is
Well, no,
the
I
Jews
realize
took-
it, but the Jews got kicked out of
Then we went to
Spain, they got
Italy,
kicked out of
and
the
my-
UK, you got kicked out of
Then we
France.
went to
Nobody likes
Hungary.
you.
Listen, kid, we got the dough, and we got the no.
Hey,
we
know
know what
what?
we're doing, and
You're
we got the
talking
money.
to a
Is that
guy-
correct?
No, but
Yeah.
let me tell you, you're talking
Am I
to a
with you?
guy.
With me?
No,
We
who's
got the dough
developing?
and we
You
got
know
the
what
no.
I'm
I just
doing
made
now?
that up.
It's
We
not
know
bad.
what we're
That's
doing.
not
We
bad.
got
It's
money.
No,
not
you're
bad.
talking
It's
to
not
a
bad.
guy. You're
You-
talking to a
You
guy.
got to give this guy his own show.
Oh no, you got to come on with
Oh,
me
of course.
regularly. We'll call you. No, I'm
I've been
producing
waiting
a
for
show,
this.
and I got to
What
get to
is
my
this
next
logo
guest.
thing here? Is this a Westchester?
That's Westchester with a mic
Can I have a
next to it.
sticker? I gave you a friggin'
I'm
pin.
good. The
Where's my gum
freaking stickers
sticker?
are in a little basket
That's
over
for
there.
you.
Give 'em- please give them.
I
No,
have
before
two.
you go, and you're
Yes,
talking
sir.
to a guy.
Thanks for having me,
One
by
of the
the way.
serious hours that we're developing is I've been doing a lot of research and developing a show. I'm a great believer in the great Jewish proclamation, never again.
What is
And
it?
we're
Proclamation of
it's,
what?
it's out there in the Jewish diaspora, never again. And I'm
Never
developing
again.
a show.
Just like 9/11.
No, but I'm developing a show though on the evolution of the Holocaust in
Okay.
in Europe. And
The worst
it's-
ever, right?
What I am learning though is people should know it. It can't be allowed to die.
It's
It
gonna happen
can't be
again.
allowed to be
Not that big,
trivialized.
probably.
And so that's the purpose.
Well,
of
the
So
problem
listen,
is, right now, Schrumpf, President Schrumpf, I call him with his German name, he's engendering the possibility of things like this in our country.
no, I
Yeah.
gotta go
Schrumpf.
there. Yeah,
I
no,
agree.
We've worked
did
for
you,
Schrumpf.
did you do business?
He doesn't
You-
pay his bills, but we did make
you
money
did
with
get-
him.
Okay, well
'Cause
that's
he-
good.
it
Listen,
was-
I gotta go. I got a
Good to
guest
see
on.
you.
Most of you know Andy
Pleasure.
Spano, the former county
Oh,
executive.
he did a great job.
Oh, he is a
Why did
great
he
political
lose?
analyst.
Yeah,
When
he
he
is,
lost
he is.
I read the paper. It was at the Hartsdale train
he's gonna
station.
love this.
I pick up the paper.
He's gonna love this. Is
Rob
my
beat
first
him.
question.
I like this,
He was
isn't he?
Because
unbeatable.
I love,
in my opinion.
he's become one of my favorite guests because
look
he
forward
can
to
give you
seeing
the
him.
hard answers,
Yeah.
but also with a sense of humor. So I gotta go.
Yorktown.
No, so listen.
All right.
Thank you,
Got it.
John.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
John, I was going to say John Zapata, but it's John Rappaport
With
with one
one
P.
P.
They're building
Exactly.
a training center
Exactly.
here
Oh,
in
we're doing
Westchester.
in the city, we're doing the Javits Center expansion.
Doing the Javits Center. and-
Moynihan Station.
and he's
all the
he-
drywall.
He
Come on
obviously
down,
he
please.
makes me seem like a deaf mute, and also
Exactly.
that's
and
another.
by the
class
way,
that
it's
I
been
had,
great
so-
You're a
talking with
hockey
you
player.
this morning.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, right.
Leave our Hyden district. I gotta get out of here. Poor Andy Spano. Now he will be left to clean up your mess. This is Radio Westchester. I'm Bob Marrone. This is the radio station at the train station. Mornings with Bob Marrone, Radio Westchester. You know the drill. We're going to go straight to our next guest because we have a question for him. And you know what that question is? First, let me welcome him, political analyst, former county executive. Please welcome Andy Spano. Why did you lose?
Hey, look, it's good to hear someone say you did a great job. You know,
Well, he did say you did a great job.
yeah, I know. That's
go
good.
ahead.
It helps.
You
It
may-
helps.
Day with
Gets
a
me-
smile.
Gets me
with-
over the hump.
You may know this
You
guy.
know Westchester better than probably anybody. that
Andy,
I've
this
met.
guy is the number 2 guy at Zapata Construction.
The number
You probably
two.
know his father. Did
This is true. This is true. But we worked together, and you were also a collaborator. I don't see that in
Oh, don't
politics.
use collaboration with a politician. Are you
Right
saying
now, we have nothing going on. In
there were no
collaboration.
white envelopes or anything, were there?
Well, I don't know about that.
All right, Andy, welcome aboard. I'm sorry you had to clean up their mess. A city councilman here brought in this gentleman, Mr. Rappaport, and he's a basketball coach. He's building a training facility here for carpenters. Very busy guy. Andy, an interesting week. What did you think of the debates?
What debate?
What?
Give me a break.
Hey, you got to help me out here.
There was a Times article today talking about what moderators.
Well, let me ask.
You know, look, it was great theater. It was fun watching it. I think Bloomberg did well because he's consistent. You know, he's got this moderate kind of situation he's got to deal with. You know, I didn't hear much new from everybody else. Warren just bothers me no end.
Why is it? She's bothering everyone. For years, she had position papers. She had detailed programs. Now it looks like she hasn't taken her medication.
Yeah, well, I have a, you know, the world isn't about 100% planning or 100% not planning. You know, she's the 100% planning person,
Uh-huh.
and Trump is the 100% not planning person. You know,
Well, yes.
You're looking for somebody who's a little more balanced. I think Bloomberg's that kind of guy. I don't, I give you a Buttigieg, nice guy, talks well, talks too much. He's too cool. I always worry about people who are too cool. And you go down. Klobuchar, I like.
I think she's going to be the VP with whoever wins the top job.
Now, she's pretty normal. Bernie's great. All right. I wouldn't vote for him.
No,
but
I
vote for him if he's the nominee. I'll vote for him. But he's got a movement. He's got people behind him. I like his issues. They're overstated, over-announced, overplayed, but
extreme.
He's got the core of
Andy
good
Spano,
issues.
but are they not extreme? I mean, we can't give away everything. There'll be nothing left.
No, they're extreme, but extremists are good in this vein. That because when someone comes in, he's got a big movement. You got to say to yourself, "Hey, there's a lot of people that believe in something he's saying." And now you've got to find a way to do the rational thing about what he's saying. A rational thing.
Now,
so,
come on.
for instance, there are people really, when he talks about Medicare for all, that's great if you could do it, but it's really not. What you're really talking about is the medical availability for everybody. Now, how do we do that rationally? That's all. It's not Medicare for all, but in a campaign, it's good to have a slogan. You know what I mean?
Now, I know. Well, no, I shouldn't say I know. That's condescending. I suspect that, like me and liberal and conservatives alike, you just are wringing your hands and getting ready to buy popcorn if that is Bernie and Donald, can go mano a mano in a debate. I'd pay $100 for that ticket.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want entertainment, that's going to. I told that to my wife the other day. I say, "Wow, I'd love to see this because Bernie's not backing down,
No,
and Trump
Donald
doesn't
certainly
have to back down. He just makes up things. It's great when you can make up things and not be concerned about it. Oh my God!
Well, he doesn't have to be
done
concerned about it. The other night I actually had a dream. I was telling the audience earlier because this stuff has been killing me. And I actually had a dream that if the Republic is doomed, if it's all about the bottom line, well, then I should be looking at which candidate's better for me, and the hell with the Republic. And I says, God, am I going to vote for? Because I'm going to dream. Do I have to vote for Trump? Now I woke up.
Well, look, I mean, a reality is, like the stock market now.
Yeah.
When it went up, it was his fault. He made it go up.
Yeah,
now it is going down. It's the Democrats' fault.
Well, but then you know what I woke up to that cured me? What I woke up to that cured me is he doesn't want Sotomayor or Ruth Bader Ginsburg to have a vote when his tax issue goes before the Supreme Court.
I know.
And then he's intimidating witnesses and everything. And see, what I don't understand, what's always going to bother me, is I'll get people who support Trump, and many with good reasons, but whenever I bring up something that he does, it's all about the whatabouts. Well, what did Biden do 10 years ago? What did Hillary do 2 years ago? And that may all be true, but that the failure to recognize that this stuff is dangerous bothers me, because he's impugned judges, prosecutors. I know, like there's no comparison in terms of scope and effect. When you compare those. And the thing that concerns me right now is this virus. He's not on top of it. He's minimizing. He has no understanding what's happening. Even the press is a little, I think, in the darkness about this. What's going on in China, I hear people saying, well, China's trying hard. No, they're not. They don't have the capability of trying hard. It's going to be it's running rampant in China, and it's just a while before it gets here. You don't know who has what. I'm gonna fly today, and I'm saying to my wife says, maybe you shouldn't fly. I said, I don't know. I mean, why should I be? And then all of a sudden, I get a message from JetBlue this morning saying that from today if I book from today to March, I forget what it was, March something or other, they're eliminating all of
fees and everything on changing your flights, because they're preparing for expectations where people all of a sudden say, "Oh, I'm not flying
Well,
today."
could you do
And
me
then-
a favor? Could you be
Yeah.
sure that I have the correct spelling of your name and your address? I have to see an insurance agent today. It doesn't involve you. It doesn't. Just in case.
Yeah, and I
Someone's
like
got
that,
to profit from this. Go ahead. Sorry.
Between climate change and now this possible pandemic, that's got to be tops. That's got to be way up there. That's what people
But you know
should
what?
be dealing with.
To be fair to the president, though, isn't this the kind of arcane and esoteric thing that he must delegate and then must give his full support to? Now, Pence isn't the right guy. They all do that because it's, I made a move. But if he has a good head of the Center for Disease Control and a good top medical guy, don't they know how to handle this? And isn't it just a matter of getting them the funding and letting them do what they do?
No, I didn't criticize Pence mainly. He may be competent. Who knows?
Well,
I don't know.
Well, he's not exactly Mr. Science.
There's no evidence one way or the other.
I mean, isn't Pence one of those knuckleheads that thinks that the Earth is 6,000 years old and that we rode on dinosaur backs? I'm just.
Well, also he thinks that that somehow God controls everything. So as long as you believe in God and everything's okay, he's the guy that wouldn't put out safe needles in his state when he was governor. To
But
deal
again,
with HIV.
Getting my tongue out of my cheek, but also I do believe he's probably a very competent man. I mean, he's been a governor, but the real issue is getting the top medical people involved. Now,
that's okay. That's okay if the
Excuse me.
top medical people are given their head and can do it. The thing that bothered me yesterday wasn't that he gave it to Pence. I think that's good, putting someone up top, right in charge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Someone has to coordinate a lot of different departments, and only someone at that level, can get that done. But, with the president's imprimatur. But, when you have diminished the number of people in this Center for Disease Control and National Health Institute, you're going to be in a difficult situation. And when you get out and say, and you give a scenario where you're down to 1 and you start at 15 and we're up to 60 already, where did he get the 15 from? I just, it's that kind of thing. A president is supposed to get out there and give the impression, I am in control. I'm doing the best I can. I have great people behind me, but you got to start doing things. You got to start washing your hands. You got to start doing. He's got to go through all those scenarios. He didn't.
Well,
he's worried about the stock market.
Well, there was a piece in the paper. Well, you know what? This is where people are neither are really unrealistic. We give credit or take credit away for all the wrong reasons. The economy is. Whether it was President Obama or President Trump now, the economy is the result of a lot of different factors. But again, if people like the guy, it's his fault when something goes wrong. If they don't like him, if they like the guy, it's not his fault. If they do, the classic case was, I've never seen anything so understated in my life as when Barack Obama authorized the shooting of Osama bin Laden. Oh, it wasn't him. It was the men in the uniform. It wasn't him. It was the Green Berets. It wasn't him. It was the vernal equinox. And it'll be the same way if Trump does something well. The people that don't like him aren't going to say it. And it's very unfortunate that we do that. But where do we go from here with something like the coronavirus? Let's stay there. You've been a chief executive for many years. How ought to you talked about washing hands, but you also have to have a role in calming the people. There was a piece today that got into what's possible. For example, the closings of schools, imploring people to work from home, and perhaps at some point in time of the evolution of this thing, banning mass gatherings. I mean, that's some pretty serious stuff.
Well, luckily, we're this is not China, so we're not centrally controlled. We're a free country. Right now, what gives me, a feeling of some sort of patience is that Every school district is talking about this right now, putting a plan. Every hospital is putting a plan in place. They're all doing it because that's what we do. We don't wait for the president to tell us to do it. They're all doing it now. That's why JetBlue sent me this message this morning. No one told them to do that. So the thing about our country that's great is you got 50 governors that are doing it right now.
Yes,
you got mayors. You got people. They're all doing it now. George Latimer is discussing it with his health department and his.
We had him on
right
the other
now.
day. Mm-hmm.
So that's what's going on. You don't have to wait for Washington to tell you what to do.
Although Washington should have a role in keeping things calm and the right kind of
not only keeping things calm, but they have a role in trying to get this any kind of vaccine expedited if we can get one. They can let you know about the disease itself. They're not even they're the ones that could be looking for telltale signs at airports and things like that. I don't know how much of that is going on. They're just looking right now for symptoms. And this thing, I don't know what the incubation period is. 14 days.
Yeah, they say it's 14 days. Although one of the hopeful things, Andy Spano, and again, my guest is Andy Spano, former county executive, now political analyst, is that so far the death rate is only about 2%. I mean, I realize that that's a lot, and if you're one of the 2%, it's not very good. But
that's okay. But as the president said, I don't know, 69,000 people last year in the United States died of flu.
Yes,
not this flu, but just the flu.
Mm-hmm.
But go back to 1917 to 1919, and then you got an issue where millions died, millions. So, where are we? Are we at last year's flu numbers, or are we at 1916 to 1917 to 19?
Mm-hmm.
Are we at those numbers? And in those years, even Eskimos died of the flu. So how did it spread? And look at the difference in our transportation patterns, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, the world, in terms of it becoming a pandemic, I think that ship is just about leaving the harbor. It's going to be. The question is, how serious will it be, and when will it ease out?
By the way, that pandemic in the world pandemic that we had in those years, their new theory is interesting. The new theory is that it was spread by the soldiers coming home from World War I all over the world.
Well, what's interesting now is what with air travel, et cetera, we have that every day.
That's correct. That's correct.
We have that every day. And you know what? To be fair to the president, he should not be, and he probably worries about this, and his handlers worry about this. A president is not God, and he can't be expected, if he puts the right people in charge, to solve this, and it would be unfair. But that's what the public does.
Well, if the president, I don't know the president. This is just hypothetical. If the president is worried about getting reelected or his image, that's one thing. If he's worried about the people and people dying all over the world, that's another thing. And I don't know which one this is. And that's a real question. He hasn't demonstrated it. He hasn't demonstrated a sense of concern, genuine concern. So, that bothers me.
Well, it could be. There's also the other thing. It could wind up being his high watermark. We don't know. We all remember, and this goes back many years, but there was a time, and again, many people who voted for him remembered this, when he could make stuff happen. There was the failure in New York City again and again and again and again to get Woolman Ring fixed, and he did it in 9 months. So...
Yeah, I understand. They did it in 9 months, but he had to violate all the rules not violate, but he's allowed to go beyond all the rules that everybody else has to follow.
Well, that was true, but the rules weren't working.
I'll tell you, so I used to kid everybody. I say, BC. BC was before Capelli.
Oh.
Capelli.
Pizza's right. You got to
BC.
explain yourself.
Capelli built 3 cities. Well, at the time I built 1 courthouse.
Well, yes. Okay, and
I tell you, and I was on that courthouse day by day by day. I had to take it away from the state in order to get it done.
But isn't that the good and the troubling about Donald Trump, that he knows how to get things done if you bypass onerous rules, whether you like it or not?
Well, but you don't know what's happening with the owners. So look. As critical as I have been, if I am proved wrong in his whether it be just this one or the next one, I'll be the first one to say I'm wrong. If I say, you look at the border and you look at all the things that are, how do I know? There people are being raped in Mexico and killed and exploited and abducted and so on and so forth. The other side, no one's coming here. It reminds me of the George Carlin things, where he talks about rape, and no one's coming here. That's the line, God, I don't know what the truth is, and neither do you, and neither does anybody else.
Well, no, we don't. All right, let's move to a couple of local issues before we send you on your way. We had a debate 2 days ago here in Westchester. Actually, it was last night, I think. 10 candidates still for Nita Lowey's seat. Now, I've interviewed a few of them. I have to be honest, one stood out to me. It doesn't mean that she's the best. But this woman, Farkas, with her background in the Obama administration and the State Department,
I've seen her on TV many times.
Very formidable woman. And, of course, Buck Wold has worked for Nita Lowey. He's been considered the favorite for a while, although he's not earning a lot of money. When you've got 10 people running, at least in the presidential race, it gets vetted out over 2 years. Trump defeated everybody in his day, and now Bernie's winning here, although I still think Bloomberg will come out on top. But be what it may, in a race like this, where whoever wins is going to be the next congressperson, how can the public hope to know?
Well, not only that, I mean, the winner could get 25% of the vote. You know what I mean? The winner of the primary.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always a problem. You don't. This is the way our system works. How would you? The only way to do this, mandatory voting.
We'll never have that in the free country.
If you don't vote, you don't get Social Security. You don't get this. You don't get that. You don't get this. Everything's tied to voting.
Hey, if I vote 3 times, can I get triple the Social Security? The old thing, vote early and vote often. Now, you work in the state. One of the things you still do, heaven forbid you should ever retire, you work on the New York State Election Commission. In general, as you look at our system here in New York, but also across the country, how reliable is our system?
New York has one of the most reliable systems in the country. And they're on top of it all the time. In fact, there's a conference yesterday, dealing with a minor point. You wouldn't even understand it. Understand the point, And, and I got to sit down and take 2 cybersecurity courses within the next couple of days, just to make sure I'm on top of that. And we're dealing with cybersecurity on a day-to-day basis and have been for a number of years now. Our system is bifurcated in a lot of ways. Not bifurcated. It's 53 different systems, really. So that's a protection. It's a problem and a protection. But you have some counties like where the computer system between the Board of Elections and the county is the same system. And you have to depend on the quality of the system of the people running it. There are other counties we would prefer if the systems were separated. But on the machines that you vote on, 2 things we have right now. You vote on a machine that is not connected to anything. So they can't hack into that. And 2 is you have a paper ballot for everything. So everything goes wacky. We can take those paper ballots and we can count them. And we can see what's on the paper ballot. So those are great protections in New York State. Now, there are some states that, where the machines they bought are, there's no paper backup, that kind of stuff. And, it might be a problem. And what bothers me about this election is we have 50 different systems here, being over, but someone over them. You got 50 out there, 50 different systems out there, plus I don't know what their internal situations are. And if, let's say, one state screws up in the presidential election, what do we do?
I don't know.
What do we do?
You
if
throw
one
it out?
State can't bring in numbers or brings in wrong numbers. Well, what do we do? What if what happens is what happened in the Iowa, caucus?
Well, or what happened in Florida, Bush Gore. Can we? Now, this is a horrible question to ask, but now we've become so politicized. Can we trust state secretaries of state to do the nice thing, the right thing, Republican or Democrat?
I don't know. You saw what happened in Georgia, where the guy was actually running.
Yeah,
and got rid of X number of votes. I don't know. New York State, once again, there are 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and we watch each other like hawks.
No, I know. Well, that's a good thing, though. That is a good thing. By the way,
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
If you run into her, you could tell the lieutenant governor I threw her under the bus the other day.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, she came out with this thing about the pink tax. She's obviously never taken a marketing course. They don't care if you're a man or woman. Once they do the demographic and they know that you'll buy stuff because we paint it pink, that's just the free market. That is one of the most absurd things I've ever heard. By the way, would you like a little primer? I can do this with you. Some people would be offended because I'm picking on the government you work with. But tomorrow I'm throwing the comptroller under the bus, but I'm giving him a left-handed compliment. And the title of my monologue tomorrow is "Someone lit a match in the cave." That is the New York State Comptroller. And it has to do with the fact that he's finally investigating Mount Vernon the way the former mayor, whose career is now ruined, begged just about on a daily basis. It's going to be fun, my monologue tomorrow.
Yeah, well, you could criticize the government. I look. Sometimes I do it public.
Oh, I know you do.
At the meetings, like no one. And I'll tell you something. So no one beats me up.
Oh, I know. Oh no, and I love that.
You know what I mean? This thing that is, this is, they're going to get you. They're going to no. In fact,
I know that.
When I want the people to know this. When I was appointed, the call I got was, we want someone there who will do the right thing. That's all.
Yeah, no, and I know that, and the only reason I'm sharing it with you is that I was, every show or every talk show host has themes that run through it. And I was a great supporter of the comptroller because he was very independent for the longest period of time. But when I had foiled some records and they went into Mount Vernon the way the mayor begged, and I saw the mayor's memos to him. And then one day they just said, hey, we can't stay. We got to go. We have an emergency. And oh, by the way, don't clean out that office for us. We're not going to need it. So now that I'm going to try and get him on. I don't know if he's come on. I've certainly played the chicken sound for him a lot because I don't know what went on in Mount Vernon, but it ain't over yet. And finally, the new mayor come in, and now she can't get anything out of the comptroller either. And again, Richard did what he did.
Well, I mean, they're going to do the audit, so and we'll see what comes out of it.
But it's kind of like, if I may use an analogy, that poor girl the kid that got killed after the mother kept screaming and yelling about it. Well, look, the mayor did what he did with his when he was in, and the courts did what they did, and he had to resign and he had to plead guilty. But it would have been nice if this happened before his career was ruined and had a chance at least to tell his side of the story. But it is what it is. Andy, it is always...
This has been a long-term issue in Mount Vernon, even before that mayor. So, I'm glad to see it happening. I'm glad to see it happening under a new mayor who seems to really have stuff together. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, well, listen, I want to thank you very much. It is always a pleasure. When are you flying, by the way?
And when am I flying?
Yeah.
Today. today. Today.
By the way, did you arrange for a car to pick you up at the airport? Because I have one advice for your driver: stay home. Let him take a cab. Andy, thank you so much. It is always a pleasure, sir. Take care.
Yeah, take care. Bye.
Hispano, everybody. It's coming up on 9:04. We got to take a quick break and figure out where our guests are. Now, what amazes me is they try to call me when I'm on the air. They're probably lost. Now, one of the great dirty secrets, and I call it a dirty secret, we love it here at the train station. We love being here. But for people who drive to the radio station or drive to the train station, it's easier to find your way to a little city in China than it is to find this train station, because the most obvious entrance has been closed off and they make you come around the back. Just saying. We'll be right back. Why did my music stop? Oh, there it is. Hi, everybody. I have returned. We've got guests, and again, they always get lost coming to this train station. Something tells me we need to write out very specific directions, because even if you use your GPS, it leaves you in the front, and you got to come around the back. All right. Let's share a little bit about what's coming up tomorrow, just in case. Tomorrow at 7 o'clock, Vince comes in and starts us rolling. We like to do that for lots of reasons. We have a very special guest tomorrow at 7:20. His name is Richard Cerulli. And Richard is a local author and playwright. They're right here in Westchester. He does a lot of different things. You're going to be really interested in what he has to say. We're going to be talking with our friends from Modern Restaurant at 8 o'clock. A.J. Woodson's in at 8:20. We are going to talk about the aforementioned controller. In fact, we'll do our monologue about it. Someone lit a match in the cave that is the Comptroller's Office of New York State. Isn't that interesting? Finally, they're getting ready to look into Mount Vernon. But again, this is a cruel world, folks. It just is. And politics is one of the crueler arenas. Now, I don't honestly think Richard's career is ruined. I'm talking about the former mayor there, Richard Thomas. And he did things he should not have done with his campaign finance and pleaded guilty. And he made some decisions that I've criticized as well. But this guy, his career, his mayoral career at any rate, he died begging and screaming for the comptroller to come in. And we know that they came in for a day and left. And so now the next person's believed. Why is that? That's just a touch. We'll be doing that monologue tomorrow. We'll be talking to A.J. Woodson about that. Now, A.J. knows a lot of where all the bodies are buried, and his paper is not exactly endorsed, Richard. They've held him accountable, as well they should. But they, I'm sure, realize that, wow, the control is finally coming in. Maybe we'll get to the bottom of something. And then Dr. Victor Sternberg's with us tomorrow, and that's pretty important. We are going to talk with him about the coronavirus. Also, we've reached out, and we will be reaching out today to a well-known allergist here in our region, allergist and infectious disease expert. Get them on as well. Now, tomorrow at 9 o'clock, for those of you who love your politics, Mimi Roca will be with us. She's the MSNBC reporter, former prosecutor, I should say pundit, former prosecutor, who is a candidate in June in the primary for the district attorney's office. All right, we have people to thank today. Again, this desk is too big. I had to reach all across myself. We want to thank Vince Russo, John Bailey, Jake, and it was a pleasure to meet John Rappaport and Ivar Hayden at 8:20. Andy Spano, of course, always delightful. And of course, we've not yet met with our friends at Choice. We've got to help them out. They keep getting lost. And, well, what can I say? So here's what we're going to do. We might come back on the air in a little bit, but right now we have to sign off. This is Radio Westchester, your radio station at the train station. We're not going to shut it just yet. We're going to leave some music running for you and see where our guests are. I'm Bob Marrone. Remember now, each and every day at 6:30, you can go to MyTuner Radio, go to Mornings with Bob Marrone. You could also go to the other app called RadioWestchester.com, and they're on the aggregator called MyTuner Radio. And for those of you who like to watch us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Periscope, and more. All righty, folks, we'll talk with you soon. Stay right there for a while. You know, while I'm waiting for them, and I just did my homework to help them get here, we're going to give them another 5 minutes. But if you have any comments or questions and you'd like to get involved in the program, give us a call right now. You can use our hotline at 999-4006, 914-999-4006. But we'll give you 5 minutes to do that. There's certainly plenty of things to talk about. I did want to go back, and I don't want to get ahead of tomorrow's monologue, but with the coronavirus, and we rarely lead news shows, whether it's here when I was on OX or as FAS. I rarely leave, rarely lead with a national story, but the coronavirus is important, and some of the evolutions yesterday needed to be part of today's story and monologue. But tomorrow, because we followed this story so aggressively. Now, for those of you who are not Richard Thomas fans, you will be, which is okay, because he did things worthy of questioning and worthy of opposition, regardless of what your politics are. Now, what I like is that he is willing, in fact, I've already invited him on after the monologue tomorrow, that he is willing to let the chips fall where they may when this audit has done. So if you're not a Richard Thomas fan and he's saying, come in, well, you may get what you believe his just desserts are. But he says, bring it on. You got to respect that, whether you like the job he did or not. And we'll see if he still feels that way tomorrow when he calls in at 6:50, and we hope that he will. We've invited it. It really is an important thing, folks. We should not take someone's career being injured, and again, in politics, they have to live with it, and so does Richard. Someone's livelihood being taken away from them, and worse still, someone's reputation being impugned. Beyond what it should be. There were campaign finance issues, and he's paid the price. He, in my own view, and this is punditry, he put some people on his staff he probably should not have, and we can talk about that. But when it comes to the money and the movement of money and everything that went on, we now have someone coming in, and maybe that auditor will come in, and maybe it will help Mr. Piccaro, who is now appealing a conviction. Maybe it'll help Richard Thomas's image. Maybe it will cast Richard Thomas, the former mayor, into the fire of hell, but he invites it. That needs to be listened to. So we're going to talk with him tomorrow at 6:50, and if we have to take him a little late, we will. We'll take him right to 7:20. And so that's what we've done. We've got 2 minutes left today. And look, we love the prospect of Sean Patterson Howard. We thought that Andre Wallace did a nice job as the acting mayor, although there seemed to be Trump-like retribution after he got the job by authorizing all kinds of clawbacks to Mr. Thomas. But we'll have all these people on. They know they're welcome to come on. They can invite themselves on. We heard from Sean Patterson Howard's people, and we reached back out to them and said we'd love to have her on. But we still remember our interviews with all of these people, particularly with Sean Patterson Howard, when she said right on these airwaves that she had a good relationship with the comptroller, who was at the center of most of this. And, well, what can I say? We do have to go, although I'm getting now a text. Ed is on location. He will be there soon. Well, we're down to about 3 more minutes. We got to go. And that's unfortunate, but we do. And Richard Thomas, if you're listening, we've sent you a text. We'd love you to come on tomorrow at 6:50. You'll get at least 20 minutes to say your piece about this new investigation. I'm Bob Marrone. This is Radio Westchester, and we will see you tomorrow at 6:30.